Part 50. God Level Tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tien Taido. Chapter 494. The next moment, these people's eyes fell on Mo Tianxin next to them. Then, their eyes straightened, and they were stunned for a moment, and immediately an extremely shocked look appeared on their faces. Is he the leader of the Mo clan? Why did Master Mo become so young? Oh my god, Song Rentung is dead? Master Mo is alive and well, and even younger. Immediately, a series of surprised voices sounded from these people's mouths again. These people also react very quickly, even if they think of something. Meet Master Mo. Meet Master Mo. One after another, the figures bowed directly to Mo Tianxin and said respectfully. Seeing this scene, Mo Tianxin waved his hand, and then said directly to everyone. From today on, I am no longer the sect master of the sword sect. He is the new sect master of the sword sect, Sect Master Li Hao and Li Section. As soon as Mo Tianxin's voice came out, everyone was stunned again, and their eyes fell on the young man standing next to Mo Tianxin. Li Hao, the leader of the Li family. The new master of Jianmen? At this moment, even Yuan Zi was stunned. He did not expect that his master would say this and give up the position of the leader of the Jianmen sect to Li Hao. There was no warning, but it was so sudden. Not only Yuan Zi, but also Li Hao next to him was stunned. What's going on? What's going on? I didn't say I wanted to be your sect leader. Li Hao frowned and asked Mo Tianxin beside him. Little brother Li Hao, you have obtained our Jianmen sect's Zong immortal sword. In fact, you are already a member of our Jianmen sect, and your cultivation is the highest. This position of sword sect master should be held by you. Mo Tianxin said directly to Li Hao in a deep voice. Is he a member of your sword sect? Are you mistaken? It's just a sword, and I got it based on my ability. I'm not idle, but I don't have time to be your sect master. When Li Hao heard Mo Tianxin's words, he was speechless and said directly. Our sect leader doesn't have to do anything. It won't be in the way. Little brother, just agree to it. Mo Tianxin said to Li Hao again. Without waiting for Li Hao to respond, he directly spoke to the people around him. You haven't met the sect master yet. In Mo Tianxin's view, the Li Hao in front of him is the most evil guy he has ever seen. He has been a strong man in the late stage of the god transformation realm since he was young, and his combat power is comparable to that of a strong earth immortal. If you can get on this boat, the future of Jianmen will definitely be immeasurable. This is an excellent opportunity in front of you. Immediately, these people from the sword sect were shocked again and quickly bowed respectfully. Meet the sect master. Meet the sect master. Li Hao. Li Hao was extremely speechless. He saw Mo Tianxin's thoughts at a glance and said calmly. You, the sect leader, I really don't have any ideas. It doesn't mean anything in front of you. I don't have time to care about you, so don't say any more. There was a hint of determination in Li Hao's voice, which was beyond doubt. But that Mo Tianxin has more to say. But Li Hao frowned directly, and there was a hint of evil in his eyes. He was not bound by other things, and he seemed a little unhappy. Old guy. Since my little brother doesn't want to be the master of your sword sect, then don't say any more. It's already a great kindness for my little brother to save your name, and you want me to help you manage the section. Are you going too far? At this time, Tang Wanchen, who was next to him, couldn't stand it any longer and couldn't help but speak out. He had already seen that Li Hao was not very happy. Mo Tianxin was a little ignorant, but he didn't want Mo Tianxin to do this because of this Jianmen section. Li Hao was offended by the Lord's business. As he spoke, Tang Wanchen kept giving Mo Tianxin looks. When Mo Tianxing heard Tang Wanchen's words and saw Tang Wanchen's eyes, his heart suddenly condensed and he realized the problem. Yes, yes, little brother, I was too abrupt, sorry. Mo Tianxing immediately bowed to Li Hao again, and said directly apologetically, keeping his posture very low, so as not to make the other party take it to heart. When the people around Jianmen saw this scene, their hearts suddenly became filled with panic. This guy didn't even deserve to be the master of Jianmen? This is something that many people dream of but cannot get. This matter is over now. When Li Hao saw Mo Tianxing's appearance, he didn't care. He waved his hand and said calmly. Immediately, Li Hao suddenly thought of something again and asked Mo Tianxing and Tang Wanli directly. By the way, let me ask you, do you know where I can get the talismans? Talisman? Little brother, what do you want the talisman for? Tang Wanchen couldn't help but ask Li Hao doubtfully. Talisman paper is a kind of yellow paper made from special materials. It is also a special paper for refining talisman seals. Of course it's for refining talismans. What else can it be used for? Li Hao said directly without thinking, as a monk, refining talismans is nothing, right? However, as soon as Li Hao's words came out, Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing opened their eyes wide and asked Li Hao in shock. Are you a talisman seal master? Are you a talisman seal master? Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing said in unison, you must know that talismans are not something ordinary monks can refine. Only specialized talismans can be refined. Moreover, the method of refining talismans is said to have been lost long ago. And now there are no Fushuan masters on the entire continent. Well, that should be considered. Li Hao looked at the shocked looks of the two people, frowned slightly again, and said lightly. But when Li Hao's words fell into the ears of Tang Wanchen and Tang Wanchen, they were like a thunder, making the two of them shocked again. My little brother is actually a talisman seal master. This is really shocking. Tang Wanli and Tang Wanli took a deep breath and made a sound of great amazement. They both looked at each other again, both seeing the shock in each other's eyes. Is this shocking? Are there very few talisman seal masters? Li Hao asked weakly again. Hearing this, Tang Wanchen and the two laughed again, shook their heads and said. It's not just that there are very few. There are none at all. I have lived for so many years and have never seen a living talisman seal master. I have seen talisman seal masters, but they are all left over from those previous eras. Tang Wanchen said directly. Yes, there is none at all. No one knows how the talisman is refined. Mo Tianxing next to him also said directly. Li Hao's eyes widened when he heard what the two said. Li Hao never thought that the reality was such that no one knew how to refine talismans. The system rewards him for his method of talisman and seal script, which is actually the only one. Thinking of this, Li Hao also felt a surge of excitement in his heart. After Li Hao heard Tang Wanchen's words, in reality, no one can refine talisman seals anymore. Even those who still have talisman seals are left behind by their predecessors. In this case, if you refine a talisman and seal, what a shocking thing it will be. Any kind of talisman and seal will probably attract competition, right? If it were sold, wouldn't it cost a lot of money? Now, is there anywhere else that sells talismans? Li Hao asked directly again. Although the system rewarded him for his skill in refining the talisman seals, Li Hao had never tried it on whether it was good or not. He only found out after buying talisman paper and trying it. Moreover, refining the talisman seals not only requires talisman paper, but also the talisman paper. Special materials are also needed, such as some elixirs or rare crystal stones. Nowadays, basically no one knows how to refine talismans anymore, so talisman paper is also difficult to buy. At this moment, Mo Tianxing said slowly again. Li Hao couldn't help but look at Mo Tianxing, but said nothing, waiting for Mo Tianxing to finish what he said. But there is a place, maybe. I heard Mo Tianxing say in a deep voice again. Where? Li Hao was shocked when he heard Mo Tianxing's words. Are you talking about Yunyanchen City? Before Li Hao could speak, Tang Wanchen, who was next to him, also thought of a place and asked immediately. That's right, it's Yunyanchen City. Little brother, have you heard of it? Mo Tianxing said in a condensed voice again. Yunyanchen City? Where is it? Li Hao asked doubtfully. Li Hao from Yunyanchen City has never heard of it? After hearing Li Hao's words, Mo Tianxing said slowly. Yunyanchen City is located in a deep mountain in western Hunan. It can be said to be a very special trading market. It opens every October for a week. As for this Yunyanchen City, ordinary people are not allowed to enter. Only monks can enter. Inside, you can basically buy anything you want, whether it is magical weapons, pills, or spiritual herbs and demon pills. It just so happens that today is the last day of September. Tomorrow seems to be the time when Yunyanchen City opens this year. If it passes, Gangha can catch up. Mo Tianxing spoke directly and slowly, introducing the Yunyanchen City. Is there such a place? When Li Hao heard Mo Tianxing's words, he couldn't help but have a strange look on his face. Is there such a place? This Yunyanchen City is equivalent to a trading market for monks. Well, thanks for letting me know. It seems that I have to go to this so-called Yunyanchen City. Li Hao said directly to Mo Tianxing that even if he had made the decision, he wanted to refine the talisman seal, and the talisman paper was indispensable, and he still lacks some special refining materials. At the moment, he had nothing to do, so Li Hao decided to go to Yunyanchen City. Moreover, Li Hao was also a little curious about this Yunyanchen City and wanted to see the excitement. Since my little brother wants to go, I should come too. I haven't been there for many years, so I want to join in the fun. By the way, I can show you the way. Mo Tianxing Dang said again that he had gone there once since his cultivation was abolished. He originally wanted to see if he could find the elixir to restore his injuries, but in the end he found the elixir but did not get it. He never went there again. I'll go with you. I just need some alchemy materials. I'll stop by Yunyanchen City to see if I can get them. At this time, Tang Wanli also spoke out and decided to go with Li Hao. Grandpa, what is Yunyanchen City? I want to go too, I want to go too. When Tang Qianqian heard Tang Wanli say that they were going to Yunyan Mountain City, she immediately spoke up and wanted to go with him. What are you going to do? I'm not going on a trip. And your cultivation is so low, there are many fierce people there. Hearing Tang Qinqian's words, Tang Wanli immediately said in a deep voice that the people who went to Yunyan Mountain City were all cultivators, and their cultivation was not bad. There were even many fierce people who killed people without blinking an eye. It was not very safe for those with low cultivation to go there. If they were not careful, they would attract a fatal disaster. Oh, Grandpa, just let me go. What if my cultivation is low? Don't you still have Grandpa? You are a master? Besides, if you can't do it, there is still him. I will just follow you. I haven't even been to that mountain city yet. Tang Qianqian immediately pouted and said coquettishly, pulling Tang Wanchen's arm and shaking it, and couldn't help but glance at Li Hao shyly. Alas, there is nothing I can do about you. Tang Wanchen looked at Tang Qianqian and sighed again. Grandpa, you agreed. Haha, that's great. Hearing Tang Wanchen's words, Tang Qianqian jumped up excitedly again. Grandpa, I want to go too. At this time, Tang Yi also spoke up. He had not been to the Yunyan Mountain City yet, and he was very curious and wanted to see the trading market of the cultivator. What are you going to do? Go back and help your father. Tang Wanchen stared at Tang Yi and said. Qianqian can go, Why can't I go? Besides, she is just building a foundation, but I am forming a pill. I have the power to protect myself. Tang Yi said directly indignantly. He was still quite confident in his own strength. Don't talk nonsense. Go back if I tell you to. Qian is a girl, are you? I only heard Tang Wanchen say it harshly again. Tang Yi. Tang Yi was speechless. This was too much discrimination. Zi, why don't you go with me? It's good to see the world. At this time, Mo Tianxing said to Yuan Zi beside him. Yeah. Yuan Zi nodded immediately after hearing what the master said. Seeing this scene, Tang Yi was about to cry, and he wanted to try to say it. Grandpa, I want to see the world too. Get lost. But Tang Yi was only responded by Tang Wanchen's cold words and his cannibalistic eyes. Okay. Tang Yi was startled, knowing that if he continued to talk, the old man would get angry, and he immediately backed off. In the end, Tang Yi retorted, unable to resist the pressure from his old man, and was ready to leave. By the way, leave the car. But at this time, Tang Wanchen stopped Tang Yi again and said. Ah. Tang Yi said weakly again, but how can I go back? Take a taxi by myself. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 495. In the Rolls-Royce, Tang Qian was sitting in the driver's seat, Li Hao was sitting in the passenger seat, and 3 people were sitting in the back, with Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing on both sides, and Yuan Zi in the middle. Tang Qian also has a driver's license and is now directly acting as a driver. Yunyanchen City is located in the mountains of western Hunan, hundreds of miles away from here. Although Li Hao and the other 3 are masters and can fly directly by the wind, doing so consumes a lot of physical energy. And he also brought 2 girls, Tang Qian and Yuan Zi, so Yufeng was still too convenient, so he directly chose to drive. Seeing several people driving away from here, Tang Yi looked sad. He also wanted to go, but his grandfather wouldn't let him go. In the entire Tang family, his grandfather Tang Wanchen's words were the authority, and no one dared to violate it. His father couldn't do it, so naturally he didn't dare either. Qian can go, but he can't go. His grandfather is too partial. But this is normal. In the Tang family, there are many brothers in Tang Yi's generation, but there is only one sister. Tang Qian becomes like the little princess of the Tang family, everyone loves her. Well. Tang Yi sighed again and could only take out his mobile phone, open the taxi app, and then call a taxi. The Rolls-Royce galloped all the way towards the land of western Hunan. A few hours later again, a group of 5 people arrived in Xiangzi. Here, there are more mountains. Although they are not high, they are endless. At this moment, the 5 people followed the navigation and came to a small town. This small town is located at the foot of the mountain, with a stretching mountain behind it. The mountain is covered with clouds and mist, and the specific scene cannot be seen clearly, but it is full of mystery. This is Yunyan Town, and the entrance to Yunyanchen City is up there. But it hasn't been opened yet today. Mo Tianxing said to Li Hao and the others, looking at a brightly lit town in front of him. The town was not big, but it was extremely prosperous, and there was a hint of haziness in it. Moreover, the town is extremely lively. There are quite a few monks. It seems they are all here for Yunyanchen City. At this time, Tang Wanchen next to him also spoke out. With the power of the 3 people's cultivation, they can naturally understand the situation of the entire town with a sweep of their spiritual consciousness. At this moment, in this small town, there are many monks' auras. Although many of them have restrained their auras, they could not escape the eyes of Li Hao and the others. Although a small mountain town is a tourist destination, it is obviously not normal to have so many monks. Obviously, These people are also coming to Yunyinshan City. It seems that I can only stay here for one night. Tang Wanshan said in a deep voice again. Little brother, what do you think? Tang Wanshan looked at Li Hao again and asked Li Hao for his opinion. Then stay one night. Li Hao said directly. Not long after, Li Hao and others arrived at a hotel. Give me 3 rooms. Tang Wanshan said directly to the customer service in the hotel lobby. Sorry, sir, our hotel is fully booked. The customer service said apologetically to Tang Wanshan. Full. Immediately, several people couldn't help but were startled again, and their brows wrinkled. Go look elsewhere. Li Hao didn't care and said directly. So, several people went to another nearby hotel, but the rooms in that hotel were still fully booked. It seemed that Li Hao and the others arrived a little late. Originally, Tang Wanshan wanted to announce his name. As the king of medicine, he could easily get 2 rooms, but Li Hao finally decided against it and kept a low profile. Finally, when we arrived at the 4th hotel, we finally had a room. May I ask, are there any rooms here? This time, it was Tang Qianqian who asked. Well, there's more. You guys are so lucky. There are only 4 rooms left. The customer service officer was a woman, not very old, probably in her 20s. She looked it up directly on the computer and then spoke out loud. That's great. Give me 3 rooms. Tang Qianqian immediately said again, 3 rooms are enough for the 5 of them, 1 for the 2 old men, 1 for her and Unzi, and 1 for Li Hao alone. Okay. The customer service immediately nodded again, and then prepared to book a room for Li Hao and others. Wait a moment. But at this moment, a voice sounded, calling the customer service woman. The next moment, they saw a middle-aged man in a suit walking over with a work badge on his chest. The lobby manager Luo saw. Manager Luo. When the customer service woman saw the person coming, she stood up and shouted respectfully. The Datang manager Luo Xiang came straight to the woman's side, then looked at Tang Qianqian and said to Tang Qianqian. Sorry, ma'am, our hotel rooms are fully booked. Although he said he was sorry, Luo Xiang didn't look apologetic at all. What? Fully booked? Didn't she just say that there are 4 more rooms? Hearing what the lobby manager said, Tang Qianqian immediately became unhappy and glared at Luo Xiang and said sternly. She made a mistake just now. Sorry. Luo Xiang said directly again. Next to me, the customer service woman couldn't help but be stunned when she heard what the lobby manager said. She made a mistake. How could this be possible? There are clearly 4 rooms left. She is very careful. How could she make such a stupid mistake? And she had confirmed it just before. Manager Luo, don't we still have 4 rooms? The customer service woman immediately lowered her eyebrows and said directly. Shut up. But before the customer service woman could speak, Luo Xiang drank the customer service woman down. If you say you're wrong, you're wrong. Don't make excuses. Luo Xiang said coldly again, with eyes that were murderous. Just now, he received a call from a big shot who wanted to book a room. He was the young master of the yin-yang section. They couldn't afford to offend him. Therefore, these 4 rooms could only be reserved for him no matter what. Even if there are no remaining 4 rooms, he will still find a way to make a few empty rooms. Therefore, at this moment, even if someone comes to book a room first, he can only say that the room is fully booked. How could this be? Didn't we just say there were 4 rooms? Now there are no more? Isn't this deceiving people? How unreasonable. When Tang Qianqian heard the other party's words, his whole body suddenly surged with anger, and he said angrily. There's nothing we can do about it, beauty. Our room is already fully booked. We can't let anyone else give it out. There's no reason for that. When Luo Xiang heard Tang Qianqian's words, he said it again with a smile on his face, but he did not take Tang Qianqian into consideration. He had encountered such things and thought about such things many times. But as long as you grind it out, it will be fine. If the other party wants to complain, then just complain. In short, in this hotel today, he, the duty manager, has the final say. Not far away, Li Hao and Tang Wanchen were sitting on the sofa. Looking at this scene, their hearts froze and their brows furrowed. There must be something wrong with this lobby manager, and naturally all this cannot be hidden from the eyes of Li Hao, Tang Wanchen, and others. Haha. There was a room just now? But now there is no room. Interesting, really interesting. I have never encountered such a thing. At this time, Tang Wanchen sneered again and said slowly, but there was a hint of chill in his voice. It seems like someone has taken over our room. He should have reserved it for someone else, right? I am the same, I have never encountered such a thing before. Mo Tianxing also said in a solemn voice, but his voice was very determined. They are all people with extraordinary minds who have lived for many years, and they are also strong in the realm of gods. Naturally, the other party's little tricks cannot be hidden from them. I want to see who dares to steal our room. Tang Wanchen said in a deep voice again, with an uncontrollable anger in his voice, but he did not stand up. Master, what are you talking about? At this time, Yuanzi next to her couldn't help but asked. She was simple in mind and didn't have so many twists and turns. At this moment, she was confused about what the master and the others said. The people who are trying to steal the room are already here. At this time, Li Hao slowly spoke out. In Li Hao's perception, there was some powerful aura slowly approaching outside the hotel, heading straight towards here. When Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing heard Li Hao's words, a strange color suddenly appeared in their eyes, and the next moment, they also felt it. Not even 2 minutes had passed since Li Hao finished speaking. Outside the hotel, several proud figures walked in. The leader was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. He had an extraordinary appearance. He was dressed in white and looked a little sinister. Under the young man's appearance, next to him, stood an old man in grey robe, who looked to be in his 50s or 60s. He was very imposing and had a long aura. Behind the young man, there were 6 strong middle-aged men, all wearing the same clothes, like guards. A type of role. When Li Hao and Tang Wanchen saw this group of people walking in, their hearts froze slightly. The group of people in front of me have quite good cultivations. They are all strong men in the Danjing realm. Moreover, the grey-robed old man is actually a master in the god transformation realm. Although he is only in the early stage of the god transformation realm, he is a genuine master. Strong. When Li Hao looked at the other party also set their sights on Li Hao. The young man's eyes first fell on Yuanzi, and then on Tang Qianqian not far away, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Yanxie was shocked immediately. He didn't expect to meet 2 such beautiful women in this hotel. Yanxie is the name of this young man. His status is extraordinary and his cultivation is even more impressive. He is the young master of the Tianyan section. This time he comes here specifically for the Yunyan Mountain City tomorrow. Just now, his subordinates contacted the owner of the hotel and asked him to reserve a few rooms for him. Unexpectedly, when he came in, he met 2 such stunning women, which really surprised him. Excellent. He has seen countless women, and these 2 in front of him are the best at first glance. For a moment, Yanxie had some thoughts about the 2 women. The next moment, Yanxie cast his eyes on the figures next to the 2 women. Well, 2 old men and a young man. This young man is actually more handsome than himself? This is simply unreasonable, damn it. When Yanxie saw Li Hao, his eyes immediately showed some gloom. He looked very handsome, but he didn't expect that there was a guy who looked even more handsome than him, and he seemed to be with these 2 women. Yinxia immediately felt a little unhappy. Yinxia looked at Li Hao and the two old men, but he didn't feel any strong aura. He already had some plans in his mind. After the room was ready, he would let the elder son next to him go and get the two women to his room quietly. The elder son next to him was named Sun Wuofan, but he was the first elder of their Tianyin section. He was the strongest person in their Tianyin sect except his father, the sect master. He was a real master. It was not easy for him to do such a small thing. Thinking of this, Yinxia's face immediately showed a lewd smile. At this moment, the old man next to him, Sun Wuofan, was also looking at Li Hao, Tang Wanchen, and others. Sun Wuofan's eyes suddenly condensed at this moment. As the first elder of Tianyin sect, he had extraordinary knowledge and could see at a glance that the people in front of him were extraordinary and not ordinary people. He could see through the cultivation of the two women at a glance. Their cultivation was not high, just the Jindan stage. However, he could not see through the other two old guys and the young man. Even if he used his spiritual sense to perceive, he could not see the reason. This was a bit problematic. If the other party was a cultivator, and he could not see through his cultivation, then there were only two possibilities. First, the other party's cultivation was stronger than his, and he restrained his cultivation so that people could not see through it, so he could not see through it. Second, the other party had a magic weapon that could hide his cultivation to prevent others from seeing through it. Whether it was the first or the second, it was enough to show that the guys in front of him were extraordinary. At this time, the lobby manager of the hotel saw Yinxia and others, and his eyes lit up immediately, and he went straight to Yinxia and others. "Respected young master, I am Luo Xiang, the duty manager of this hotel. You are finally here." Luo Xiang came directly to Yinxia with a dog-licking attitude and said respectfully, "Well, is the room booked?" Luo Xiang nodded and asked in a deep voice, "Young master, that's a must. You are the young master of Tianyin section, you want a room. No matter what, you have to guarantee it." Luo Xiang smiled and licked again. "Well done. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Tian Taido. Chapter 496. Young Sect Master, that is necessary. You are the young master of Tianyin section, this is the room you want. No matter what happens, you have to make sure. That Luo Xiang said to that Yinxia like a licking dog. When Li Hao and others heard what the lobby manager Yinxia said, they couldn't help but feel strange in their hearts. I see. It turned out that this guy was actually the young master of the Tianyin section. Even Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing were shocked. Tianyin sect? Hasn't this Tianyin sect disappeared for many years? Has it actually appeared again? Tang Wanchen said in a deep voice. It seems that over the years, the Tianyin sect has also secretly accumulated some strength. It seems that it is preparing to be born again. Next to them, Mo Tianxing also said slowly. The two of them naturally knew that Tianyin sect was one of the few large sects many years ago, but in the past few decades, it has not come. Sound. Looking at the young masters of the Tianyin sect, Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing's eyes flashed again. No wonder the room is fully booked. It seems that our room was left to them by this guy. Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing said in a low voice, with a flash of fierceness in their eyes. Someone actually grabbed the room and overran them. This was something they had never encountered before. Even the Tianyin sect has not reached the point where Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing are too afraid. Well done. Just take us to the room. That Yinxia nodded, very satisfied with the attitude of the lobby manager Luo Xiang, and said directly. So, the room is fully booked, right? So, there were rooms available just now, but you left them with them, right? How could you do this? We were the ones who came first, right? But at this moment, a sullen voice suddenly sounded. Tang Qianqian was also a smart person, and she immediately understood that the room for herself and the others was given to the young master of the Tianyin sect by the lobby manager. Tang Qianqian immediately became unhappy and spoke angrily. As soon as Tang Qianqian's words came out, eyes immediately fell directly on Tang Qianqian. When Luo Xiang heard Tang Qianqian's words, his expression suddenly became gloomy and ugly. When he said sternly to Tang Qianqian, "Yes, so what if you came first? Our hotel room was originally reserved for the young sect master. Yes. Just tell me it's full. No matter what, there's no room for you here." Luo Xiang did not deny it. There was a touch of pride in his voice, but he looked disdainful towards Tang Qianqian. Snap! When Tang Qianqian heard what Luo Xiang said, she became angry again and slapped the marble countertop of the bar, causing cracks all over the countertop, and said angrily, "This is unreasonable. How can you do this? Why? No, I will live here today. I want 3 rooms now." When Luo Xiang saw this scene, his eyes widened even more, and he was shocked. The countertop of his bar was made of marble. How could it be smashed to pieces by this woman's slap? How is this possible? But at this moment, Luo Xiang didn't think much about it and simply thought that there was something wrong with the quality of his countertop. But such a good opportunity had to be swindled no matter what. Dang even pointed at Tang Qianqian and said sternly, "I told you no, no. What's going on? Are you making trouble? You actually broke the countertop of my bar. Today, if you don't pay 300,000, you can never leave my hotel. My hotel has never been afraid of making trouble. Lord." His voice was very arrogant. As he finished speaking, several figures came in from outside the door. They were wearing security uniforms. They were obviously hotel security guards. They came directly behind Luo Xiang and faced him. Luo Xiang shouted respectfully, "Manager! Manager!" Luo Xiang nodded, then gave them a look of understanding, and then the security guards immediately surrounded the place. "What's going on? Beauty? Do you want to pay or what?" Luo Xiang sneered again and said to Tang Qianqian, "Huh? This girl is not scared." Tang Qianqian looked at the scene and snorted coldly and said, "Naturally, this small battle cannot scare her. Besides, she is still a monk in the Dan formation realm, and her grandfather is here, and Li Hao, who has a strong confidence in her heart, even if the King of Heaven comes. If they don't dare to touch her, her grandfather Tang Wanchen and the others will naturally not ignore her. In that case, then I will." That Luo Xiang said angrily again, but before he could speak, a voice directly interrupted his voice. "Wait a moment." The person who spoke out was Yin Xie, the young sect leader of Tianyin sect. "Young sect master, what are your orders?" Luo Xiang immediately bowed and said to Yin Xie, keeping his posture very low, like a slave. Yin Xie waved his hand, but ignored Luo Xiang, and looked at Tang Qianqian in front of him. "Beauty, have you not booked a room? If you don't mind, I can give you my room." "But..." Yin Xie showed a handsome smile, but his eyes were scanning Tang Qianqian's body. The beauty in front of him was outstanding in terms of figure and appearance. He really walked over the mountains and ridges with her to watch the sun, Yin Xie said directly to her. Tang Qianqian said, "But what?" When Tang Qianqian heard what Yin Xie said, her face lit up with joy. She thought that the Yin Xie in front of her was really going to give the room to her, so she asked casually, "However, if I leave it to you, I won't have anywhere to sleep. What do you think? If you don't mind, how about we spend the night together?" Yin Xie said with a smile again. His intention was already obvious. Just one night together? Isn't that just a picture of her body? How unreasonable. Hearing Yin Xie's words, Tang Qianqian suddenly became angry again and said sternly to Yin Xie, "Are you looking for death? You are the one seeking death. Why are you talking to our young sect master? It's your blessing that our young sect master likes you." Before Yin Xie could speak, someone stood up behind Yin Xie. It was a guard leader, and he proudly said to Tang Qianqian, "Boom." A powerful aura of cultivation was immediately released from the body of the guard leader. The leader of the guard was actually a monk in the middle stage of the Dan formation realm. At this moment, when his cultivation was released, the powerful aura immediately pressed towards Tang Qianqian. If he were an ordinary person, he would probably collapse to the ground under her momentum, but Tang Qianqian was not an ordinary person. "What? Do you want to do something? This girl has never been afraid of anyone." Boom. Looking at this scene, Tang Qianqian's eyes suddenly burst out with a sharp light. She was not timid at all and said proudly. As her words fell, a powerful cultivation momentum also came directly from her body. Burst out. Late stage of foundation building. Although he was only in the late stage of foundation building, Tang Qianqian was not afraid at all at this moment. So what about foundation building? There was a total of 3 standing behind her, including Mo Tianxing and Li Hao. When Tang Qianqian's cultivation was released, the guard leader was startled and looked surprised, while Yin Xie's expression also condensed slightly. "I didn't expect to be a foundation building monk. GGG, my young sect master likes female monks the most." The guard leader let out a jaja laugh again, looked at Tang Qianqian and said. Immediately, he said to Yin Xie again, "Young sect master, I will take her down and send her to your room." When Yin Xie heard what this subordinate said, he raised his hand and said in a deep voice, "Vulgar! How can you treat such a beautiful person like this? It won't be good if you get hurt. It's better for me, the young master, to do it myself." After saying this, Yin Xie looked directly at Tang Qianqian and said with a sneer, "Beauty, I am the young master of the Tianyin sect. I have taken a liking to you. I'll give you a chance. Will you go to my room by yourself, or will I do it myself?" As soon as Yin Xie said this, the old man next to him couldn't stand it anymore and said to Yin Xie, "Young sect leader, it is better to do less than to do more." Sun Wufan felt it was necessary to remind the young sect leader that it would be bad if he accidentally hit the iron plate. Even he couldn't see through the 3 people sitting on the sofa opposite. When Yin Xie heard Sun Wufan's words, his face couldn't help but darken, but he immediately said in a deep and proud voice, thinking that elder son, as a strong master, was too timid. "Elder son, what are you afraid of? I am the young master of Tianyin sect, who can't afford to offend me. And isn't it you? You are a strong master." When Sun Wufan heard what Yin Xie said, his face darkened, the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, and he immediately reminded Yin Xie again. "There are some people we really can't afford to offend. Young sect master, you rarely come out. Some things cannot be taken at face value. If we offend someone we shouldn't offend, even your father." But before Sun Wufan finished speaking, he was directly interrupted by Yin Xie. "That's enough. Elder son. My father will not be so timid. You are the elder of my Tianyin sect and the master of the transformation realm. Don't be so timid. Really, there are so many people we can't afford to offend. Isn't she just a woman?" Yin Xie said in a deep voice again. "Well." When Sun Wufan heard Yin Xie's words, he sighed immediately and didn't know what to say. He and the leader of the Tianyin sect, Yin Buhan, the father of Yin Xie, are brothers who have gone through life and death. He also watched this Yin Xie grow up, so for this Yin Xie, almost no matter what the requirements are from childhood to adulthood, satisfaction also allowed him to develop a domineering character, which is also his responsibility. In name, he is the elder, the other party is the young sect master, the other party is the master, and he is the servant. He eats the resources of Tianyin sect. It's hard to say too much to this Yin Xie. That's all. If something goes wrong, he can just carry it. He is a master. Even if the other party also has a master, the worst he can do is apologize and be cowardly, but the other party will definitely not dare to really kill him. When the time comes, Yin Xie will suffer some setbacks and gain points. The lessons are also good. If it really comes to a point where he can't handle it, and his eldest brother, Tianyin sect leader Yin Buhan, if both of them can't handle it, the Yin sect will be in trouble that day. At this moment, Sun Wufan thought a lot and stopped caring about Yin Xie. Boom. At this time, a powerful momentum was also released from Yin Xie's body. Late stage of Dan formation realm. At a young age, less than 30 years old, he has already reached the late stage of the Jindan realm. As the young master of the Tianyin sect, he is also very talented. Yin Xie looked at Tang Qianqian again, showing a he sneer, and said proudly, "Beauty, with your cultivation level, who are you showing it to? Just go back to the room with me obediently. I will take good care of you." Tang Qianqian felt the momentum of Yin Xie's cultivation, and heard what Yin Xie said. Her face was extremely gloomy, her pretty face was ashen, and she was so angry that she stomped her feet. She immediately looked at Tang Wanchen, who was sitting on the sofa not far behind, and asked for help. "Grandpa, this guy is so hateful. Why are you still sitting there?" As soon as Tang Qinqin's voice came out, Yin Xie's face froze. As for Sun Wufan, his heart also jumped violently at this moment. Hearing Tang Qinqin's words, Tang Wanchen finally stood up slowly and said with a sneer, "Young master of Tianyin sect, right? Who gave you the courage to dare to have an idea about my granddaughter?" "Him." Tang Wanchen looked at Yin Xie coldly, and then glanced at Sun Wufan. Tang Wanchen could see that Sun Wufan was a master, but so what? He deserved to die if he dared to do something bad to his granddaughter. Boom. As Tang Wanchen's voice fell, an astonishing mighty force instantly burst out from Tang Wanchen's body, shaking the earth and causing the entire space to tremble. The terrifying pressure immediately swept in all directions. At this moment, Tang Wanchen's powerful cultivation in the God transformation realm was released without reservation. At this moment, everyone's face changed drastically, especially Yin Xie and Sun Wufan and others. "How is this possible? Master?" Yin Xie said with his eyes wide open in disbelief. He was frightened. The other party actually had a master? His face became extremely ugly. Did he really offend someone he couldn't afford to offend? No way. Who are you? At this moment, Sun Wufan's face changed drastically. He stood in front of Yin Xie and protected Yin Xie. He asked in a deep voice, the other party was indeed a master, but he didn't know which master he was. "I will never change my name." "Tang Wanchen." Tang Wanchen said coldly and arrogantly, and reported his name. When he heard this name, Sun Wufan was shocked again, and said immediately, "It turns out to be the Medicine King. I'm sorry for my young master's ignorance of the great man. I didn't know that this beauty was the granddaughter of the Medicine King. I'm sorry. I hope you will forgive me." Sun Wufan lowered his posture. Immediately, he looked at Yin Xie again and said to Yin Xie, "Young master, apologize to this beauty quickly." Sun Wufan still had the mentality of less trouble than more trouble, and was unwilling to let Tianyin sect establish an enemy in the God transformation realm. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 497. Sun Wufan naturally knew the title of Tang Wanchen Medicine King, and the opponent was also a master of the divine transformation realm. Even if he took action, he would not necessarily be his opponent. Sun Wufan didn't want to create such an enemy for Tianyin sect, so when he said to Yin Xie, he asked Yin Xie to apologize to Tang Qianqian. But when Yin Xie heard Sun Wufan's words, he seemed to be unhappy and said in shock. What? Apologize? You want me to apologize to them? Yin Xie's eyes widened, wondering if Sun Wufan had made a mistake. That's right, apologize quickly. This is the king of medicine, a powerful master. Sun Wufan immediately said to Yin Xie in a deep voice. Are you mistaken? Elder son. I am the young master of the Tianyin section. What qualifications do they have to ask me to apologize? Besides, isn't he the king of medicine? What if he is the grand master? Elder son, you are me too, a strong master of the Tianyin sect. Don't allow others to overwhelm your dignity. There is no way I can apologize to them. Yin Xie looked gloomy and said proudly, not taking Tang Wanchen and others seriously at all. In his opinion, with Sun Wufan, a strong master, by his side, he could simply walk sideways, even if the other party was also a master. I can't help myself. So, let him apologize. That's completely impossible. After hearing Yin Xie's words, Sun Wufan's face became extremely ugly. Alas, young sect leader you. Sun Wufan sighed again, but he was so angry that he didn't know what to say. Since the young sect master doesn't apologize, he can only apologize. I'm really sorry about that, brother Tang. My young sect master is quite spoiled on weekdays. But before Sun Wufan could say anything, Yin Xie became unhappy, and immediately said sharply to Sun Wufan again. Elder son. You are the elder of my Tianyin sect. You are eating the resources of my Tianyin sect. How can you eat everything in and out? This young sect now orders you to bring that woman to my room. Yin Xie used a commanding tone in Sun Wufan's ears, but it made Sun Wufan's face suddenly freeze, and he almost slapped Yin Xie in the face. As a master, he still had the arrogance of a master, but he still held back because Yin Xie was his eldest brother's son. Sun Wufan couldn't help but sigh in his heart again. Yin Xie's words and actions were tantamount to seeking death. What a young master of the Tianyin sect! What a Tianyin sect! If I don't give an explanation today, you won't be able to leave this hotel alive. When Tang Wanchen heard Yin Xie's words, he immediately spoke sternly. His voice was filled with a powerful and fierce meaning, and a powerful pressure also moved forward, making the entire space become extremely oppressive. He stood up and looked at Yin Xie with a sharp look in his eyes. Yin Xie felt the strong sense of oppression coming from Tang Wanchen, and his heart was condensed, feeling that the crisis was coming, when he stood behind Sun Wufan again and said to Sun Wufan. Elder son. Why are you still standing there? They want to take action against this young sect. Yin Xie stood behind Sun Wufan, protected by Sun Wufan and the surrounding guards, and he felt a little safer. When Sun Wufan heard Yin Xie's words and looked at this scene, he felt bitter in his heart, and he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He didn't want to take action, but at this moment he had to stand up and protect Yin Xie. Brother Tang, I'm sorry for this. Today, as long as I am here, I will protect the safety of the young sect leader. I advise you to forget it. You and I are both strong masters. If we really fight, the outcome will be unknown. Immediately, Sun Wufan said in a deep voice to Tang Wanchen, and the cultivation of the God transformation realm was released without reservation. A powerful aura swept out of his body, directly confronting Tang Wanchen's aura. A confrontation is formed. Haha. The outcome is unknown? You think too highly of yourself. When Tang Wanchen heard Sun Wufan's words, he immediately sneered again and said slowly. What if there is another one of me? But at this moment, a voice sounded in this space again. This voice came from the mouth of another old man on the sofa, but when it reached the ears of Sun Wufan and others, it shocked their hearts again. Immediately, Sun Wufan looked to one side. There, I saw another old man in grey robes sitting on the sofa, but with a half smile on his face. It was Mo Tianxing. The next moment, as the voice fell, Sun Wufan and others were shocked to feel that a terrifying power burst out from the body of the grey-robed old man. The powerful momentum shook the earth and caused the wind and clouds to roll back directly into the sky. This momentum was even more powerful than the one released by Tang Wanchen just now, so powerful that it was suffocating. That was the middle stage of the divine transformation realm. Middle stage of the divine transformation realm. How is this possible? This. At this moment, Sun Wufan's eyes widened, filled with deep shock, and he lost his voice again. Who are you? Sun Wufan's face suddenly became extremely ugly again. He looked at Mo Tianxing and asked, but his whole heart had already hit the bottom. He felt like his head was buzzing. He was another master and stronger than Tang Wanchen. They are even more powerful, and of course they are more powerful than him. Sun Wufan is already afraid of Yin Xie to death. This time he really kicked the iron plate, and he will easily bring about the annihilation of Tianyin section disaster. I'm Mo Tianxing. Mo Tianxing said slowly. As soon as these words came out, Sun Wufan was shocked again. Lord of the Sword Sect. Sun Wufan had lived for so many years and had heard of Mo Tianxing's name. He knew that Mo Tianxing was the master of the sword sect and a master of weapon refining. He and Tang Wanchen were once known as the two masters of alchemy weapons. One makes elixirs, the other refines weapons. Sun Wufan knew that Mo Tianxing was a genuine old generation grandmaster, but he didn't know that he was actually in the middle stage of the divine transformation realm. It's really tragic now. The young sect leader may not be able to protect these two powerful men in the realm of gods. Even Sun Wufan feels a powerful threat. Behind Sun Wufan, Yin Xie was looking at the scene in front of him with a horrified expression, and finally felt a touch of fear at this moment. Not a grandmaster? How is this possible? Yin Xie said in shock. Now he really felt a touch of fear. Two grandmasters, this is a tragedy. Even in his entire Tianyin sect, there are only two grandmasters. Tianyin sect, you are so arrogant. You have robbed the rooms of several of my friends, and you also want to rob my friend's granddaughter? Do you want to die? I will grant you your permission. Mo Tianxing immediately stood up slowly and said in a deep voice. As soon as the words fell, the terrifying aura immediately rushed towards Sun Wufan and others, and they looked like they were about to take action at any time, making Sun Wufan, Yin Xie and others look pale and pale. Misunderstanding. This is a misunderstanding. Immediately, that Sun Wufan quickly said that he really wanted to shoot that Yin Xie to death at this moment. Brother Tang, Brother Mo, my young sect leader is ignorant. I apologize to you on his behalf. We will also give you this room, and the money is ours. Let's forget about it, how about it? Sun Wufan said to Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing again, with a touch of apology. At this moment, he really had no idea of taking action. If it was one-on-one, the outcome was unknown, but if he faced the other two, if it were a human being, he would definitely be defeated. There was no need for him to ask for trouble, so he just gave up and said. Misunderstanding? Can a misunderstanding be forgotten? Mo Tianxing said sternly again, he is the master of a sect, a strong master, and a decisive person in killing. Even if the other party is the young sect master of Tianyin sect, he has offended them and has to pay a price. The master cannot be insulted. Hearing Mo Tianxing's words, Sun Wufan's heart suddenly condensed. It seemed that the young sect leader had really offended the other party a little bit. I'm afraid this matter can't just be so good. Snap! A crisp sound was heard, and Sun Wufan slapped Yin Xie hard on the face. Ah! Yin Xie let out a scream, and his body was slapped to the side. He immediately covered his face and looked at Sun Wufan in pain, and said angrily with red eyes. Elder son. What are you doing? How dare you hit me, the young sect leader? You are doing the following crime. The corners of Yin Xie's mouth were bleeding, and he was a little dazed from the beating, and he was even more angry. Brother Tang, Brother Mo, are you okay now? I have taught my young sect leader a lesson. I hope you can give me some face. Sun Wufen ignored Yin Xie's roar and looked at Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing again. Just a slap? Haha, I'm not the only one you've offended. Seeing this scene, Mo Tianxing sneered again and said lightly. As Mo Tianxing finished speaking, Sun Wufen's heart became condensed again. Immediately, Sun Wufen took 2 steps forward and came to Yin Xie. Young sect leader, I'm offended. Sun Wufen said to Yin Xie in a deep voice again. What are you going to do? When Yin Xie saw this scene, he was suddenly startled and felt a chill in his heart. Snap! But before Yin Xie could say anything, a clear voice sounded again. It was Sun Wufen who slapped Yin Xie on the face again, but this time it was from the other side. This time, Yin Xie was beaten until blood spurted out. Elder son. I am the young master of Tianyin sect. Are you going to rebel? How dare you hit me? I want to tell my father. Yin Xie covered the other side of his face, which was already swollen into a bun, and said angrily, his eyes filled with incomparable resentment. I'm trying to save you. Just shut up if you don't want to die. When Sun Wufen heard what Yin Xie said, he immediately said sharply to Yin Xie. Save me. You are so scared. You are still a grandmaster. It is useless for my father to call you brother. But Yin Xie didn't take it seriously and said directly to Sun Wufen sharply. Immediately, Sun Wufen glared at Yin Xie again, just one look, with a sharp look in his eyes, which made Yin Xie startled again and did not dare to speak any more. Brother Tang, Brother Mo, are you at the head office now? Sun Wufen looked at Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing again and asked in a deep voice. He also had a bottom line. If the other party still refused to give up after he said this, he would have to take action. I have no problem. However, I still said what I said just now. You have offended more than just me. Mo Tianxing smiled and said when he saw this scene. It was not up to him to spare Yin Xie or not. The person Yin Xie had offended just now was Tang Wanchen's granddaughter, and the other party had robbed their room. There was also a Li Hao next to them. Qian, what do you think? Tang Wanchen did not answer directly after hearing what Sun Wufen said, but looked at Tang Qian again and asked Tang Qinqin's opinion. Humph. 2 slaps? No. He was very arrogant just now. He hasn't apologized yet. Tang Qian was not happy, and snorted again. Although Yin Xie was slapped twice, he still hasn't apologized yet. This is too light. 2 slaps, it's really too light. How about crippling him? Before Tang Wanchen could speak, a voice suddenly sounded again. It was not someone else, but Li Hao who spoke. When Sun Wufen heard what Li Hao said, his face could not help but turn cold, and a gleam of brilliance flashed in his eyes when he looked at Li Hao, and he immediately said to Li Hao in a cold voice. Little brother, forgive others when you can. Although my young master has offended me first, it is not your turn to point fingers. In Sun Wufen's opinion, if Yin Xie was crippled, where would he put his face? As the great elder of Tianyin sect, he couldn't even protect his own young master? In addition, Mo Tianxing and Tang Wanchen were already nothing, and this guy who didn't know what was good for him appeared again. This was simply not taking him seriously at all. Haha. I want to cripple him. What do you think? When Li Hao heard what Sun Wufen said, he sneered and said proudly. As Li Hao's voice fell. Boom. An unparalleled momentum was released from Li Hao's body, and the momentum seemed to be above the heaven and earth, and was infinitely close to the earthly immortal. This, This. How is this possible? At this moment, Sun Wufan was horrified and said in a lost voice. The young man in front of him was actually a master, and he was even more powerful than Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing. How is this possible? 3 masters. Not 1, not 2, but 3. What a terrifying lineup. This time, it really hit the iron plate, and it capsized. As Li Hao's voice fell, Li Hao raised his hand directly, and immediately there was a terrifying force blasting towards Yin Xie in front. Bang! Sun Wufan responded and wanted to resist, but only heard a dull sound, and his body was directly blown away. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Tian Taido. Chapter 498. Crushing, this is a naked crushing. Sun Wufan had no power to resist, and his body was blown away directly. Puff. Sun Wufan spurted out a large mouthful of blood, and his heart was shocked to the extreme. It was simply too strong. At this moment, Sun Wufan finally felt what real power was and what the gap was. Now, Sun Wufan knew that he was wrong, very wrong, and the words he just said had offended the other party to death. Li Hao directly blew Sun Wufan away, but he didn't even look at Sun Wufan, but looked directly at Yin Xie, who was surrounded by several guards. At this moment, Yin Xie was so scared that his Tianyin sect's great elder was blown away by the other party. At this moment, seeing that Li Hao was about to happen to him, there was a hint of coldness in his eyes, and Yin Xie's face suddenly turned pale. Then, Yin Xie saw that the other party was actually walking towards him. What are you going to do? Yin Xie's heart jumped again, and he said in shock. He wanted to hide behind these guards, but he was shocked to find that he couldn't even move his feet. His feet were simply out of control. Haha, of course I'll cripple you. Li Hao sneered and said lightly. Ah. No. I'm the young master of Tianyin sect. Hearing Li Hao's words, Yin Xie's face suddenly showed a look of fear, and he said in a lost voice. Young master of Tianyin sect? So what? I never look at the identity of the person I want to cripple. Li Hao said disdainfully. As Li Hao's voice fell, Li Hao immediately raised his hand again, and he was about to cripple Yin Xie. Stop. At this time, a cry of exclamation came out from Sun Wufan's mouth again, and he once again mobilized his power and rushed over here, trying to stop Li Hao. However, Li Hao's expression remained the same, without any change, as if everything was under his control. The next moment, Li Hao turned his head and looked at the rushing Sun Wufan, and the incomparable power of cultivation on his body was running. Immediately, a brilliant Buddhist power was born on Li Hao's body, with a strong force of suppression. Li Hao directly stretched out his hand forward, and immediately a huge palm was born. Then everyone was shocked to see that Sun Wufan's body was directly grasped by the huge palm, just hanging in the air, unable to move. Sun Wufan's body was pinched tightly, and his cultivation power was tightly imprisoned. There was a look of horror in his eyes, and he felt that his life was about to die. Do I need you to teach me what to do? Li Hao's voice came out again coldly. Get out. Otherwise, I will kill you. Li Hao shouted again, and as this voice fell, an invisible force directly hit Sun Wufan's body. Bang! Only a dull sound was heard, and Sun Wufan vomited blood again and flew backwards, falling heavily in the distance. After doing all this, Li Hao came to Yin Xie in front of Yin Xie's horrified eyes, and looked at Yin Xie coldly. Yin Xie stood there blankly, unable to move at all. If you want to blame someone, blame you for being too arrogant and offending someone you shouldn't offend. Li Hao said coldly to Yin Xie. As Li Hao's voice fell. Boom! Li Hao directly slammed his palm with a powerful force towards the top of Yin Xie's head. No. Spare me. Yin Xie heard Li Hao's voice and saw the scene in front of him, and immediately said in a lost voice, and his heart was filled with despair, and he begged Li Hao for mercy directly. But how could Li Hao let him go? The next moment, Li Hao's palm directly hit Yin Xie's crown. Ah! Immediately, Yin Xie let out a painful cry. A terrifying force entered Yin Xie's body through Li Hao's palm. At this moment, Yin Xie's meridians and inner elixir were all broken. Blood spurted out of Yin Xie's mouth, and his aura became extremely weak at this moment. The next moment, Yin Xie collapsed to the ground. You actually crippled me. You are so cruel. I am the young master of Tianyin sect. Yin Xie felt extremely desperate at this moment. His power of Jindan realm cultivation was completely crippled by the other party at this moment, and he became an ordinary person, even weaker than ordinary people. He immediately spoke to Li Hao in a harsh voice, with a hint of resentment in his eyes. Yin Xie never thought that the other party would be so direct and cripple him directly, and even didn't take Tianyin sect seriously at all. At this moment, Yin Xie finally felt a little regretful. If he hadn't said those words to that woman, he probably wouldn't have offended those people, and his cultivation wouldn't have been ruined. He really hit a wall this time, offending the wrong people. Three masters, Yin Xie knew what this meant, which meant that his father couldn't do anything to them. Young master of Tianyin sect? Who is that? Get out of here. Otherwise, I don't mind leaving you all here. Li Hao said sternly again, his voice filled with incomparable arrogance, and he did not take the Tianyin sect in his eyes at all. When Sun Wufan saw this scene, he also had a look of disbelief in his eyes. He didn't expect that the other party would be so straightforward and give up at the drop of a hat. He didn't even have the slightest room for negotiation, and he didn't care about their identities at all, as if they were done away with. Just like a minion, the other party is undoubtedly absolutely confident in his own strength. Sun Wufan knew that the other party had the strength to keep them all here. When he heard Li Hao's words, he immediately did not dare to hesitate at all. He got up, activated the remaining cultivation spiritual power, and then came to Yin Xie's house. Beside him, and then directly grabbed Yin Xie on the ground. Let's go. Sun Wufan immediately said something to him, and then took Yin Xie and flew away in the air, not daring to stop at all, and disappeared from the hotel in an instant. The remaining guards, seeing this scene, were stunned on the spot. At this moment, they did not believe that their young sect leader was directly destroyed by the other party, and their great elder directly took him with him. The deposed young sect leader ran away and couldn't even take care of them. Walk. The guard leader reacted immediately, then said to the people around him, and then left here as if running away. Immediately afterwards, the remaining guards also reacted and left here quickly. In just a moment, no one from the Tianyin sect was left. Li Hao naturally has the ability to keep all these people here, but Li Hao is not a murderous person. These people in the Tianyin sect are not guilty enough to die. Of course, the young master of the Tianyin sect may not know how many women he has harmed. Except, Li Hao's crippled his cultivation was a huge lesson for him. A cripple cannot make any big waves. Even if his father is the master of the Tianyin sect and a powerful master of the transformation of God realm, he cannot save the person he has crippled. Li Hao is still very confident in this point. It can be said that Yin Xie's future path was cut off by Li Hao. This time, Tang Wanchen, Mo Tianxing, and others looked at the scene with a look of surprise in their eyes. They did not expect that Li Hao would be so decisive in taking action. The young sect leader of Tianyin sect would give up at any time. If it were them, they would still hesitate even if they had no choice but to give up. Luo Xiang was the only one left in the field, looking at the scene in front of him with a startled expression. The next moment, Luo Xiang looked at Li Hao in horror again. Li Hao also looked at the lobby manager, with a cold look in his eyes. Bang! Only a crisp sound was heard, the sound of the kneecap hitting the floor tiles. Luo Xiang, the lobby manager of this hotel, knelt down at this moment. His feet were weak, and he was extremely frightened. "Brother, I was wrong. Please let me go." Luo Xiang saw the miserable state of Yin Xie. When he was kneeling on the ground and begging Li Hao for mercy, the ground where he was kneeling was wet. He was actually scared to the point of peeing. Eh? That's disgusting. When Tang Qianqian saw this scene, a trace of undisguised disgust appeared on her pretty face. When the customer service woman at the bar not far away saw this scene, she also opened her mouth wide and her expression became condensed. Their manager actually freaked out. "Really, if I had known this, why bother in the first place? Wouldn't it be better if you just listened to her before? Is the room still full now?" When Li Hao saw this scene, he sneered and said to Luo Xiang, "It's not full, it's not full. The remaining rooms are reserved for you, no money. No money." That Luo Xiang said quickly, fearing that he might accidentally offend the deadly master in front of him. "That's pretty much it. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Next time, keep your eyes open and don't look down on others." Li Hao said lightly again. After saying that, Li Hao took a few steps forward and came to the front desk. "Beauty, take us to the room." "Ah, okay." The customer service woman was startled, then reacted immediately and said, even her pretty face turned rosy, "Please follow me." The customer service woman clicked a few times on the computer, opened the remaining 4 rooms for Li Hao, and then said softly to Li Hao. "So," Li Hao said to Tang Wanchen and others again. "Let's go." Immediately, Li Hao followed directly. Behind him, Tang Wanchen and others followed directly. "Little brother, why did you let that Yin Xie and the others leave? That guy is the young master of the Tianyin sect." Not long after, Tang Wanchen was beside Li Hao and couldn't help but said to Li Hao, "What if?" Li Hao said calmly to this Tang Wanchen, and I frowned slightly. "You need to get rid of the root. If you destroy that Yin Xie, the Tianyin sect will definitely not let it go. Instead of waiting for them to take revenge, it is better to just leave Yin Xie and Sun Wuofan here. With the 3 of us here, that Sun Wuofan can't leave." I only heard Tang Wanchen say in a deep voice again. When Li Hao heard Tang Wanchen's words, a strange expression flashed across his face. He originally thought that Tang Wanchen would say that he should not destroy the other party, as the other party was the young master of Tianyin sect, but he never thought that Tang Wanchen actually wanted to eradicate it himself. "Yes, little brother. The Tianyin sect is very powerful, with 2 masters. If we leave Sun Wuofan here, even if their leader comes, with the 3 of us here, it won't cause much trouble." At this time, Mo Tianxin next to him also spoke out. "Li Hao." Li Hao was speechless. He thought he was too lenient. He didn't expect that Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxin were so decisive and would wipe out the roots at any time. It's just a Tianyin sect, so what if there are 2 masters? Since I can suppress them once, I can suppress them a second time. Li Hao said proudly again, his voice was full of confidence, and he didn't take the Tianyin sect seriously at all. Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxin were shocked again when they heard what Li Hao said. Immediately, the 2 looked at each other and said in a low voice, "I was overthinking. Little brother's cultivation is amazing, there is really no need to worry about the Tianyin sect." Tang Wanchen and the other 2 did not say anything more. Then, they came to the hotel room. There are 4 rooms, Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxin each have 1, Li Hao also has 1, and then the 2 female generals Tang Qianqian and Yunzi are in 1, which is very suitable. The rooms are all on the upper floors, and you can see the night view of the whole town at a glance. Under the hazy clouds, some lights will be brilliant, making the whole town full of unique scenery. As the night fell, it started to rain again in the sky. Surprisingly, on a rainy night, this town actually had more spiritual energy, which permeated the air and refreshed the mind. In the room, Li Hao sat cross-legged on the bed and slowly began to absorb it. Although there was not much spiritual energy, it did not really improve Li Hao's cultivation, but a little bit is still meat. Li Hao slowly began to practice, and his consciousness followed suit, exploring the entire town. In an instant, Li Hao felt a strong breath lurking in all directions of this town. And these breaths were obviously from the cultivators in this town. The next moment, Li Hao opened his eyes again, with a flash of surprise in his eyes. Among the countless breaths, Li Hao also felt several extremely powerful breaths. Although the breath was restrained by the other party, Li Hao still detected some traces. That breath was the breath of the master. In this town, in addition to himself, Tang Wanchen, and Mo Tianxing, there were no less than 5. In other words, there were so many masters in this town. And these masters were obviously coming for Union Mountain City. At this moment, it was really a gathering of wind and clouds. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Taido. Chapter 499. If you don't investigate, you won't know. Once you investigate, you'll be shocked. There are so many masters in this town. And these people are obviously coming for the opening of Union Mountain City tomorrow. In addition to these masters, there are at least hundreds of auras in the Jindan realm. As for the cultivators in the foundation building stage, let alone, there are simply too many. It's really a gathering of wind and clouds. The attraction of Union Mountain City is simply amazing. Li Hao's heart also had a strange color, but he immediately withdrew his spiritual power and stopped investigating. Everything will be fine tomorrow. No words for the whole night. The next day. Early in the morning. Li Hao walked out of the room, and when Li Hao walked out of the room, 2 figures also walked out of the next room. They were Yunzi and Tang Qianqian. It seems that the 2 were waiting for Li Hao to come out. Tang Qianqian and Yunzi's faces were moist and energetic. It seems that they had a very good rest. Not long after, Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing also walked out of their rooms. Good morning. As soon as Tang Wanchen appeared, he said to Li Hao and others. Can't wait. Let's go. Union Mountain City is about to open. At this time, Mo Tianxing also said on the side. The next moment, several people went out of the hotel directly and went to the mountain behind Union Town. On the mountain, the clouds and mist were lingering, and the specific situation could not be seen clearly. There was a sense of mystery between the mist and clouds. So many people. Looking at the figures going in the same direction around, Tang Qianqian couldn't help but let out a surprised sound. Just as several people were heading to Union Mountain City, figures appeared from all directions in the west of the town, heading towards the mountain behind. Each figure was full of powerful momentum, and they were all cultivators, without exception. Obviously, these people were going to Union Mountain City just like Li Hao and others. Several people went up all the way and directly entered the clouds and fog. The clouds and fog blocked their vision, but it did not cause any obstacles to these cultivators. After more than half an hour, the view in front of them suddenly became clear. Li Hao and his friends saw that there was a valley between the 2 mountains. The valley was very large and looked very open at a glance. However, the valley was also filled with thick fog, and the specific situation could not be seen clearly. Is this Union Mountain City? Looking at the scene in front of him, Yunzi couldn't help but say. Well, when the fog dissipates, it will be the time for Union Mountain City to open. Now, just wait. Mo Tianxing next to him said immediately. Why is Union Mountain City in this deep mountain forest? Isn't it just a market? It doesn't matter where it is opened. At this time, Tang Qianqian on the side asked curiously, asking the doubts in her heart. Not only Tang Qianqian, but Unzi and even Li Hao also had the same doubts in their hearts. Indeed, it's just a market. As long as there are people selling things, why is it in this deep mountain forest? Because, in this Yunyan mountain city, there is a special auction. And the auction is full of rare good things. Most people come for this auction. At this time, Tang Wanchen spoke again and cleared up the confusion for several people. Auction. Li Hao and the other two were shocked when they heard Tang Wanchen's words. There is actually an auction inside? But, can't the auction be held outside? Why must it be held in this mountain corner? Tang Qianqian said again. Tang Wanchen. Tang Qianqian is right, it is indeed the truth. Immediately, Tang Wanchen said directly again. Because the person who held the auction, or that force, lives here. Every year, they collect good things from all over the continent, and then auction them together during the 3 days when Yunyan Mountain City is open. Tang Wanchen spoke slowly, and he said a lot of things that Li Hao and others didn't know, which made Li Hao and others suddenly realize something. It turned out that there were other forces behind Yunyan Mountain City, no wonder Yunyan Mountain City was opened here. Collecting good things from all over the continent, and then auctioning them together during the 3 days of opening, no wonder it attracted so many cultivators. Li Hao also had a sense of curiosity in his heart, what kind of force existed behind Yunyan Mountain City. Just when Tang Wanchen was explaining the doubts to Li Hao and the others, the entire mountain was already full of figures, some of whom were floating on the treetops, some were standing directly on the swords in the void, and some were standing directly on the ridges. These figures were all permeated with powerful auras, extraordinary momentum, and incomparable pride. These people's sights were all on the valley, waiting. However, there were also cultivators who couldn't bear the loneliness and chose to take a different approach, rushing directly into the thick fog. Damn, how long do we have to wait? If it doesn't open, I can't stand it anymore. Some cultivators couldn't resist the impulse, couldn't hold back their temper, couldn't wait any longer, and directly burst out with powerful power and rushed into the fog. Stupid! You're just looking for death. I don't know how to write death. Some monks saw the scene and couldn't help but said aloud. They obviously knew something and felt that this guy who couldn't control his temper and rushed in was obviously seeking death. But the next moment, ah! Another scream sounded in the fog, and a figure was blasted out. The guy who just rushed in was now reduced to skin and bones, as if all his flesh and blood had been swallowed up by something, and he was gone. Sound. Die. Not only this monk, but also some monks who rushed in from other places suffered the same fate. Hiss. What happened? What's going on? Seeing this scene, many monks made shocking sounds and couldn't help but gasp, frightened by the scene in front of them. Haha, I won't be satisfied with death. Don't you know there is a formation here? There are also some people who have already expected this, as if it has nothing to do with them, and they just look like they are watching a show. When Li Hao, Tang Qianqian, and Unzi saw this scene, a strange color flashed in their eyes, but Li Hao's heart condensed slightly. In the mist, even Li Hao's consciousness could not detect it, as if it was blocked by an invisible force. That power is the formation. In this mist, there is a formation, and that formation seems to be a bloodthirsty method that can swallow people's blood essence and make the formation more powerful. Those who entered just now are the blood essence. It was swallowed up by this formation. These impulsive guys paid the price with their lives. And with the lessons learned from these people, no one finally dared to try it again. Everyone is waiting. Finally, about 2/4 of an hour passed. Above the sky, wind and clouds were surging, and the clouds and mist that originally covered the sky seemed to be attracted by an invisible force at this moment, and then dissipated directly. Suddenly, bright sunbeams scattered from the sky and shone in the valley. Slowly, the fog that originally existed in the valley, as if it was also attracted at this moment, slowly dispersed towards both sides, revealing the scene in the valley. All they saw was an ancient city appearing in everyone's sight. This ancient city is entirely made of stone. It stands proudly in the valley, exuding a wild aura, as if it is like an ancient beast, awakening from its deep sleep at this moment. Seeing the scene in front of them, everyone was shocked. Yunyinshan City is open. The formation has dispersed. It's finally opened. Come on, hurry in. A series of exclamations came from the mouths of these monks. These people immediately became excited and directly burst out with their cultivation power, rushing towards the ancient city in front of them as fast as possible. What are these people doing? Is it necessary to be so excited? Unzi looked at the scene and couldn't help but said again. Haha. Of course, there are only so many good things. If you slow down, they might be bought by others. Mo Tianxing laughed and said. Of course, some of them are going to occupy bunks. Occupying a bunk. Unzi was surprised again, and Li Hao and Tang Qianqian next to him also looked puzzled. In Yunyinshan City, although most of their people are selling things, outsiders are still allowed to set up stalls here. As long as they are given a few spiritual stones, they can become stall owners directly. Mo Tianxing said in a deep voice again. No wonder. Unzi said again immediately, and suddenly understood. Li Hao and Tang Qianqian also suddenly understood. No wonder these people rush so fast, all to grab good things. On the first day of the market opening, there will definitely be many good things for sale. As long as there are enough spirit stones, you can basically get them. A good harvest. People come here not to buy things, but to sell things. As long as there are good things, they can set up a stall in this Yunyinshan city and sell them to others who want to get them. Of people, and those good stalls are first come, first served, it depends on who can run fast. Come on, let's go in too. Li Hao said directly to several people. Several people responded, and when they did, they moved and headed directly towards the ancient city in front of them. Soon, several people arrived at the entrance of this ancient city. Li Hao saw that there were several figures in white robes standing proudly at the door, like guards at the city gate. There were 9 figures in total. On the white robes they wore, there was a word engraved on the chest, which was the word treasure. Seeing these 9 figures, Li Hao couldn't help but have a strange look in his eyes. Just because the 9 figures standing there are actually strong men in the late stage of pill formation, and the one leading them is actually infinitely close to the realm of transformation. The cultivation level of these people is considered very powerful when placed here. But these people were sent here to guard the gate of the market. This lineup is quite powerful. Li Hao and the others saw again that the monks who came here took out 2 spiritual stones and handed them to the leader before going in. Do you want tickets? Next to him, Tang Qianqian's eyes widened again. Otherwise, Yunyinshan City is not open for nothing. They are all from the Shenbao sect. Tang Wanqian said directly. Shenbao men is the force behind Yunyinshan City. This is the first time Li Hao has heard that there is such a force on the mainland. To enter, you need to pay spirit stones, 2 low-grade spirit stones per person, but there are so many monks, not thousands, but hundreds. The ticket alone is a huge amount of income. Let's go in. Immediately, Li Hao said to the 4 of Tang Wanqian again, and then followed the crowd and walked forward. The next moment, Li Hao came to the guards. How many people? The leader asked directly to Li Hao. 5. Li Hao said directly. 10 spirit stones. Without any hesitation, Li Hao directly took out 10 low-grade spiritual stones from the system world and prepared to hand them to the other party. Little brother, Why don't I give it to you? Tang Wanchen next to him said immediately. It's just a few spirit stones, I can still afford them. Don't worry about it. Li Hao said calmly. It's just a few low-grade spiritual stones. In Li Hao's eyes, it really doesn't matter. Let alone low-grade spiritual stones, there are quite a few top-grade spiritual stones in Li Hao's system. In the past, Li Hao moved a spiritual vein that produced spiritual stones to the system world. At this moment, the spiritual energy in Li Hao's system world is extremely rich, comparable to the paradise of cave heaven, and there are also many spiritual stones. There are still tens of thousands of spiritual stones, and many of them are top-grade spiritual stones. As for these low-grade spiritual stones, Li Hao got them from the opponents he killed. Immediately, Li Hao handed 10 low-grade spiritual stones to the other party. Then a group of 5 people entered the ancient city without any hindrance. As soon as they entered the ancient city, everyone felt a long-lasting aura. The bluestone ground is paved with a 2-foot-wide road that leads directly to the center of the ancient city, where there are some towering buildings like castles. There are already many stalls on both sides of the road, and behind these stalls stands a monk from Shenbao Men who is also dressed in white. That's the demon pill. Wow, there are so many demon pills. The biggest ones are probably the Demon King's demon pills, right? At this time, someone exclaimed and their eyes fell on a stall nearby. Li Hao and others also looked along the line of sight, and when they saw huge monster inner elixirs placed on those stalls, each inner elixir was filled with a powerful demonic power, especially the largest ones are particularly eye-catching. God-level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Tian Taido. Chapter 500. Look over there, that's the soul-enhancing grass and the purple heart vine. That's the 9 suns flower, 6 of which have bloomed. It must be hundreds of years old, right? There are so many soul-enhancing herbs. Where did you get these soul-enhancing herbs? At this time, there was another exclamation not far away. Li Hao and his companions looked in the direction of the sound and saw soul-enhancing herbs placed on another stall nearby. There was a strong fragrance emanating from these soul-enhancing herbs, which shocked people's spirits. There were dozens of soul-enhancing herbs, and some of them were hundreds of years old and of extraordinary value. These soul-enhancing herbs are not bad. Tang Wanchen looked at these soul-enhancing herbs, his eyes fixed, and he said in a deep voice. Immediately, Tang Wanchen walked directly to the front of the stall and his eyes fell on a purple soul-enhancing herb. How much is this purple sun grass? Tang Wanchen asked the stall owner directly. This is 100-year-old purple sun grass, 300 spirit stones. The middle-aged man wearing Shenbao Men clothes behind the stall said directly after hearing what Tang Wanchen said. In Union Mountain City, the currency for transactions is no longer ordinary money, but spirit stones. This Union Mountain City was originally opened for cultivators, so spirit stones are the most fundamental thing. 300 spirit stones is not a small amount. Even Tang Wanchen only has 2 or 3,000 spirit stones in his storage bag. 300 spirit stones is too high. This purple sun grass is at most 100 spirit stones. Tang Wanchen said directly. This purple sun grass is one of the materials for refining a kind of elixir. As the king of medicine, Tang Wanchen naturally knows its price. This stall owner is simply asking for a lion's mouth and shouting a random price. 100. No deal. The stall owner heard Tang Wanchen's words and widened his eyes and said in a deep voice. After hearing this, Tang Wanchen didn't plan to say anything more and prepared to leave directly. Hey, wait. But at this moment, the stall owner called Tang Wanchen again. What else? Tang Wanchen asked in a deep voice. 100 spirit stones are too little, add a little more, 120 spirit stones, I'll sell it to you. The stall owner immediately said to Tang Wanchen again. Those who wore Shenbeo men's clothes were actually disciples of Shenbeo men, and the things sold on the stall were all from Shenbeo men. However, everything had a minimum price, and the higher they sold, the higher their commission would be, so they often asked for a very high price at the beginning, but in fact, as long as they sold it higher than the minimum price, they would still make some money. Isn't it off the table? 120 spirit stones. Forget it. Tang Wanchen said calmly without changing his expression, and did not stop immediately, but was ready to leave. 100 is 100, take it. But Tang Wanchen had not taken 2 steps when the voice of the stall owner behind him came. Hearing this, Tang Wanchen immediately turned his head again, a smile appeared on his face, and he said directly, "Deal." So, Tang Wanchen and the stall owner exchanged spirit stones and goods. This purple heart grass was bought by Tang Wanchen. Beside, Li Hao and others watched this scene, and there was a touch of surprise in their eyes. Learned. This bargaining is too powerful. 100 spirit stones to buy 100-year-old purple heart grass is not bad. Grandpa, you buy it now. Beside, Tang Qianqian said directly. Otherwise, this purple heart grass has a great use for me. If I can refine a soul-enriching pill, it will not be a problem to sell it for 1,000 spirit stones. Tang Wanchen said in a deep voice. In addition to the sellers of demon beast inner pills and the seller of spirit herbs, there are also people who sell pills directly next to them, but the pills they sell are some relatively common soul-restoring pills, healing pills, and essence-enriching pills. There are also some stalls selling miscellaneous things, such as bottles and jars, or fragments, but there are some runes on those fragments, which should be the fragments left from some magic tools and spiritual tools. The streets are crowded with people, and it is very lively. Everyone is walking around in this ancient city to see if there are any good things they like. I will go somewhere else to look, you can just walk around. There are a lot of good things here, you have to take a look. At this time, Tang Wanchen said to Li Hao and others that there are a lot of good things here, which are simply not to be missed. Go, I will also go to see if there are any good things. At noon, we will go directly to Shenbeo Hall to meet up. Mo Tianxing also said, preparing to look around. Well, Sister Yuan, let's go shopping together. Grandpa, give me some spirit stones. Tang Qianqian nodded, but said directly to Tang Wanchen that she wanted spirit stones. I don't have many spirit stones, not even enough. You are so young, there is nothing you need to buy. No need. Tang Wanchen heard what Tang Qianqian said, but he said directly. Why don't you need it? Grandpa, you are too stingy, aren't you? Tang Qianqian was not happy to hear what Tang Wanchen said, and immediately pouted and said unhappily. Old man, this is not how you should be a grandfather. Mo Tianxing next to him couldn't help but say it when he saw this scene. Tang Wanchen. Alas, 100 spirit stones, just 100 spirit stones. There are no more. Finally, Tang Wanchen took out 100 low-grade spirit stones and gave them to Tang Qianqian. Tang Qianqian happily accepted it. It's better to have something than nothing. 100 spirit stones can buy good things. By the way, little brother, don't you want to buy talisman paper? If I remember correctly, go in along this street, turn right at the third intersection, and there is a stall at the innermost part. It seems to sell it, but I don't know if it's there this year. You can go and have a look. At this time, Tang Wanchen said to Li Hao in a deep voice again, and suddenly remembered that Li Hao seemed to want to buy talisman paper before. Yes. Thank you. When Li Hao heard Tang Wanchen's words, he nodded immediately and clasped his fists to Tang Wanchen. Li Hao naturally did not forget the original purpose of coming here, which was to buy some talisman paper to refine talismans. So, Tang Wanchen and Mo Tianxing left and went shopping, while Tang Qian and Yunzi went together. Li Hao walked alone, stopped and walked, looked here and there, and went to the place Tang Wanchen had just mentioned. But before he had walked far, Li Hao's sight passed the crowd and fell on a not very eye-catching stall on the side. Only to see that in Li Hao's sight, there was a big red exclamation mark on the stall. Hint. Li Hao couldn't help but be shocked when he saw the exclamation mark. What else could it be if not a hint? It appeared again at this time. Li Hao immediately walked towards the stall with the hint and came to the front of the stall. I saw that there were some groceries on this stall, some strange objects, bottles and jars, some yellowed books, some colorful crystals, some spiritual herbs, and even a few demon beast inner pills. The things sold on this stall are quite miscellaneous. But, to be precise, the exclamation mark in front of him indicated a small square tripod. This was a miniature tripod, only the size of a palm, and it was placed on the stall. There was nothing special about it, but there were some strange patterns on it, like a magnificent pattern of mountains and rivers, and it was filled with a bit of ancient breath. A strange color appeared in Li Hao's eyes, but his expression was normal, without any change. Immediately, Li Hao clicked on the exclamation mark without hesitation. Ding dong, this is an ancient thing, full of the breath of the avenue, although it has gone through thousands of years. In an instant, the system's prompt sounded in Li Hao's mind. Hearing this prompt from the system, Li Hao was shocked again. Ancient things, just this small tripod. That must not be missed. It's a waste if you don't pick it up. Moreover, he possessed divine alchemy skills and was also an alchemist. He just needed a suitable alchemy cauldron. This small cauldron in front of him looked like an alchemy cauldron, but it was too small. It would be great if it could be used to make alchemy. But no matter whether it could be used or not, the first thing to do now was to get this small cauldron. Have you seen enough? If you like it, just say so. If not, get out of here and don't block my business. At this time, a voice came from the back of the stall. The owner of the stall was a young man in a gray robe. He looked like he was in his 20s, but his cultivation was not bad. Li Hao saw through his cultivation at a glance. This guy was a cultivator in the late stage of the Jindan realm. At this age, this talent was already very strong. He was also a genius among those immortal sects and divine religions. This guy was sturdy, but his face was a little bruised. He looked a little weak and sickly. Moreover, this guy was not from the Shenbao sect at first glance. He should have gotten the stall here by himself. But at this moment, this guy looked at Li Hao with a cold face, as if he was angry. When Li Hao heard what this guy said, his eyes suddenly condensed. This guy seemed to be crazy, and his temper was also irritable. He didn't know how to be polite. No, this guy's state seemed to be wrong, as if he couldn't control his emotions. There was also a hint of scarlet in his eyes, with a bloodthirsty itch. When Li Hao heard what the other party said, he instinctively got angry, but he stopped it again, just because Li Hao realized that the guy in front of him seemed to be wrong at this moment. Li Hao's spiritual sense was so sharp that he detected that the other party's emotions seemed to be out of control. Although he was suppressed by the other party, Li Hao still saw the problem. Poison. This guy seems to be poisoned. And it was poisonous, but which kind of poison is still to be explored. What? Can't you stand here if you don't like it? This road is not yours. Li Hao said coldly again. Are you looking for death? If you want to buy it. If not, get out. Do you believe I will kill you? The young man glared at Li Hao and shouted. He could not help but release the aura of the late Jindan realm. This scene also attracted the attention of many people around. Everyone present was a cultivator. Seeing that it seemed like a fight was about to break out, they were all shocked. Wow, is this going to be a fight? A cultivator in the late Jindan realm. Very strong. Is there something interesting to watch? However, if there is a fight in this ancient city, it seems that Shenbao men will intervene, right? The entire ancient city is Shenbao men's territory, so fighting in the ancient city is naturally not allowed. If everyone can take action, then Yunyinshan city will not be able to operate. Kill me? Do you have the ability to do this with a sickly person who is poisoned by the goo? When Li Hao heard the young man's words, he looked disdainful and said lightly, as if he didn't take the young man seriously at all, and he didn't even use his cultivation power. If Li Hao released his cultivation power, it would definitely cause a huge shock, but it was not at that point at the moment. Ah! How do you know that I was poisoned by the goo? When the young man heard Li Hao's words, his expression was suddenly shocked, and he immediately asked Li Hao in a lost voice. No one knew that he was poisoned by the goo, so how did this guy know about it? So he was very shocked by Li Hao's words. His name is Lei Ao, he is 26 years old this year. Last time, by chance, he entered an ancient secret realm. There was a relic in that secret realm. He got a lot of good things from it, and even his cultivation level broke through to the late stage of the Jindan realm because of that opportunity. But opportunities are often accompanied by dangers. In that relic, he entered a blood demon land, which had countless blood demon poisonous insects. Although he escaped, he was poisoned by the blood demon poison. The poisonous insects entered his body and ate his blood and essence, and made his mind and emotions become a little abnormal. He was about to be out of control. If this continued, he would definitely not live long. It was precisely because of this that Lei Ao came to Yunyan Mountain City. If he could get a poison-removing pill, he might be able to get rid of the poison in his body. But the Guhua Dan is extremely hard to find. Even if you really find one, the price is very expensive. I'm afraid that ordinary cultivators can't afford it. So Lei Ao set up a stall here, trying to sell some things to get some spiritual stones, and then go to find the Guhua Dan. Shenbao Gate is a place where treasures from all over the world are gathered, and maybe there is a Guhua Dan. At this moment, Lei Ao was shocked when he heard Li Hao say that he was poisoned by goo. I can see it at a glance. What's the big deal? Li Hao said lightly. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Tian Taido. Chapter 501. Can you tell at a glance? Hearing Li Hao's words, Lei Ao was shocked again and couldn't believe it. How is this possible? Lei Ao murmured, but what the other party said was absolutely correct. Even if I'm poisoned, if there's a fight, it's not certain who will win. Lei Ao said proudly again, even though his body was poisoned and his energy and blood were depleted, Lei Ao still had his own pride. His cultivation in the late stage of the Dan formation realm was not something he could deny. The powerful monks in the late stage of the Dan formation realm had no reservations. When he was released, even though he was a little weak, his momentum was still astonishing, causing many people around him to feel shocked. Haha. Ignorance. Are you sure you can beat me? When Li Hao saw this scene, he laughed again and said in a deep voice, but there was a sharp look in his eyes when he looked at Lei Ao. There was no slight fluctuation in cultivation on Li Hao's body, but at this moment, when Lei Ao saw Li Hao's look, he was shocked. At this moment, he actually felt as if there was an invisible pressure coming down instantly. When it came to him, a strong sense of crisis instantly arose. Lei Ao felt extremely horrified in his heart, but he didn't dare to move at all. It's absolutely terrifying. Is the look in this guy's eyes so scary? Grandmaster, isn't this guy in front of me a Grandmaster? How is this possible? However, only a Grandmaster can put such great pressure on him. Intuition told Lei Ao that the guy in front of him was not someone he could mess with. Why don't you say anything? You can try to take action. But have you thought about the price? For a moment, Lao couldn't say anything because he didn't dare. Seeing this scene, Li Hao immediately looked at Lao with a half smile, and said lightly, as if he didn't put this Lao at all. The look in his eyes. After hearing Li Hao's words, Lao's originally unattractive face became even more ugly. Lao felt extremely aggrieved at this moment, his whole face turned red, and he suppressed the urge to do something in his heart, and remained silent. Li Hao glanced at the guy in front of him indifferently, but he didn't care, and immediately said calmly, "Since you don't want to take action, then put away your meager moral behavior." Immediately, Li Hao's eyes fell on the small tripod on the stall again, and he asked Lao directly, "Where did you get this little tripod?" "I got this from an ancient secret realm. This small tripod is a good thing." "What? Do you want to buy it?" When Lao heard Li Hao's words, his expression immediately condensed and he said directly. Naturally, he knew that this small cauldron was very extraordinary. Although he didn't know how to use it, he once used this small cauldron to smash to death a monk who was in the middle stage of the Danformation realm. Moreover, this small tripod is something from ancient ruins. How can it be simple? Li Hao shook his head when he heard Lao's words. "Don't buy it," Li Hao said directly. Seeing the scene and hearing Li Hao's words, Lao's eyes suddenly darkened again, but he heard the other party change the subject and continue. "If you give me this small cauldron, the poison in your body may be cured." "What? Can you cure the poison in my body?" Laodang was suddenly shocked and said to Li Hao in shock. However, soon, Lao regained his composure. This small tripod was of extraordinary value and could definitely be worth thousands of spiritual stones. Although no one knew it, Lao was very sure. "I spent a lot of effort and almost lost my life to get this small tripod. Give it to you? That's absolutely impossible. Besides, how do I know if what you said is true? The poison in my body, but even medical masters can't solve it," Lao said in a deep voice again. It was naturally impossible for Li Hao to give away this small tripod just because of one word. He did not believe that Li Hao could cure the poison in his body. It was not that Lao had not found someone to treat him. But even the masters of medicine are helpless to deal with the poison in his body, saying that only the poison that transforms his body may have a chance to relieve the poison in his body. Believe it or not, you won't live long anyway. When the time comes, when you die, this little tripod will not belong to anyone else. I will get it by any means I can." When Li Hao heard what Lao said, he didn't care at all and said with a smile. But when these words fell into Lao's ears, they felt a little heartbroken. After saying that, Li Hadang was ready to leave here. "Wait a moment." But at this moment, Lao's voice came from behind Li Hao again. Li Hao turned his head in time and looked at Lao without saying a word, but with a smile on his face. "That's all. As long as you can cure the poison in my body, this little cauldron is yours." Immediately, this Lao said directly to Li Hao again, etc. However, at this moment, another voice came from one side. Li Hao and Lao saw a young man in white clothes walking over among the crowd, shaking a folding fan in his hand. He looked like a young man, with a touch of arrogance on his face. Color. Behind this young man, there were several people, wearing white robes and the clothes of Shenbao men, following this young man like guards. This young man's identity is extraordinary at first glance. He should be someone from Shenbao men. Li Hao glanced at these people and directly saw through their cultivation. This young man's cultivation was not weak, just a little weaker than the guy setting up the stall in front of him. He was a strong man in the middle stage of the Danformation realm. And behind this young man, the 4 guards, 2 in the early stage of forming a pill, and 2 in the middle stage of forming a pill, are not weak at all. Next to him, when Lao saw this young man, his expression hardened again. The next moment, I saw the young man walking straight to Lao's stall, and his eyes fell on the small tripod in Lao's hand. This little tripod has attracted my attention. How can I sell it? This young man said it proudly, as if the thing he set his sights on was already his. As soon as the young man said this, Li Hao's expression hardened and his brows wrinkled slightly. How dare someone come out to grab what he likes? But Li Hao didn't speak, wanting to see how the stall owner would respond. When Lao heard the words of this young man in white, his expression suddenly darkened. Not for sale. Lao said calmly. When the young man in white clothes heard Lao's answer, his face immediately showed a stern expression and his brows furrowed. Boy, are you looking for death? Do you know who is standing in front of you? You'd better think about it before you talk. At this time, without waiting for the young man in white to speak, the 4 guards behind him stood up, looked at Lao fiercely, and said sternly, powerful cultivation aura burst out directly from their bodies. Now, pressing towards Lao. I don't care who he is. If he doesn't sell it, he won't sell it. But that Lao was not someone to be trifled with and was not scared. He was a monk in the late stage of the Dan formation realm. Even if he was poisoned by poison, the guards in front of him could not threaten him. He just said in a deep voice. Very good. It's really good. Boy, you are dead. How dare you speak rudely to young Master Zhao of Shenbao Men? I will destroy you. This entire ancient city belongs to my young master. Immediately, the 4 guards said angrily again, pretending to be ready to attack Lao directly. But the young man in white raised his hand and blocked these guards with a single gesture. What? Mr. Zhao from Shenbao Men? Is he Mr. Zhao from the Zhao division of Shenbao sect? Who else could it be but him? At this time, some people around also made an uproar. Some people were not coming here for the first time, and they had also heard the name Zhao Si Gongzi. This is the young master of the Shenbao section. It is not an exaggeration to call him the young sect master. He is also the person behind the auction. For a moment, all eyes fell on this young man in white. But the young man in white looked like he was enjoying himself. Don't be impatient. We are the hosts. Although this ancient city is our territory, we cannot cause trouble or break our own rules. Immediately, I heard this Zhao Si say lightly again, but he still maintained a handsome smile on his face. There were so many people watching around him. He represents the image of Shenbao Men and is also the facade. You still have to pay attention. Suddenly, and fighting is not allowed in this ancient city. This is the rule set by their Shenbao section. If even they themselves break it, wouldn't it cause criticism? How about 2,000 spiritual stones? I will buy you this little tripod for 2,000 spiritual stones. Zhao Si said directly again. His tone was not ordinary, and he directly offered 2,000 spiritual stones to buy this small tripod. As the young master of the Shenbao sect, Zhao Si has naturally seen a lot of good treasures and has a good knowledge. At this moment, when he saw the small tripod in Lao's hand, he also felt how extraordinary this small tripod was, although he couldn't tell the specific details. But he is very confident in his vision. Therefore, without any hesitation, Zhao Si came out directly and prepared to take the small tripod from Lao's hand. It would be perfect whether it was taken back for family use or directly auctioned. What? 2,000 spirit stones. Is that small tripod worth 2,000 spiritual stones? There doesn't seem to be anything too special about it. Master Zhao actually gave out 2,000 spiritual stones. Oh my god. Young Master Zhao is worthy of being the young master of the Shenbao section. This is such a bold move. As soon as Zhao Si's words came out, there were many exclamations from the surrounding monks. When Lao heard this Zhao Si's words, he couldn't help but feel shocked, and he couldn't help but feel a trace of hesitation in his heart. 2,000 spirit stones are indeed a lot. If he had these 2,000 spirit stones, he might be able to use them to ask for a poison-reducing pill. But Guhuan is not something you can encounter casually, and besides, he just agreed to the young man in front of him. For a moment, Lao hesitated. But in just a moment, Lao made a decision. Haha, so what about 2,000 spirit stones? Sorry. I won't sell it. Lao sneered again and said in a deep voice. Not for sale. What? You won't sell 2,000 spirit stones? Isn't this guy stupid? You don't even want 2,000 spiritual stones, but you still offend Mr. Zhao. Immediately, a series of surprised voices came out from the mouths of the onlookers. Many people just thought that they had heard wrongly. Some people thought that this Lao was just an idiot who made a wrong decision and would rather offend Director Zhao. Don't sell it either. This is not a wise move. As soon as Lao's words came out, the smile on Zhao Ci's face immediately froze. The next moment, I heard Lao say again. This little tripod was the first thing this brother liked. I've already sold it to him. It's already his. Lao said and looked at Li Hao. The people around him immediately turned their attention to Li Hao. After saying this, Lao handed the small cauldron in his hand towards Li Hao. I believed you once. Now, this little cauldron is yours. Lao said directly to Li Hao again. When Li Hao saw this scene, he was surprised. He didn't expect that Lao would directly give this small cauldron to him. He's quite smart. He's trying to divert trouble to himself. However, Li Hao didn't care at all. On the contrary, he was absolutely convinced that the other party had made a wise choice. Li Hao took the small tripod directly without any hesitation. After starting with the small tripod, Li Hao felt a sense of heaviness from it, as if there was endless majestic power gathered on this small tripod. Li Hao immediately saw the pattern on the small tripod clearly. It was a magnificent scene of mountains and rivers. Buzz. Mountain and river cauldron, the ancient spiritual cauldron, which condenses the power of mountains and rivers, carries the continuous momentum, and gathers the spirits of all things. There is a seal on the cauldron, and the method to break it is. A prompt sound suddenly resounded in Li Hao's mind. It was the explanation about this small tripod, which shocked Li Hao's mind. Ancient spiritual cauldron? Mountain and river cauldron? Li Hao knew the name of this small tripod and also knew the extraordinary features of this small tripod. More importantly, the reason why this mountain and river cauldron is so small and not what it originally looked like is because there is a seal on the cauldron, and Li Hao has obtained the method to crack the seal on this mountain and river cauldron from the prompts. Li Hao couldn't help but feel a sense of joy in his heart. But now is not the time to break the seal. I heard Mr. Zhao from Shengbao sect looking at Li Hao coldly again and said in a deep voice. Brother, how about giving this little cauldron to me? The 2,000 spirit stones are yours. And I promise, as long as you find the treasure you like in Shengbao sect, you can get 10% off. As soon as Zhao Ci's words came out, the people around him were shocked again. Oh my God, 10% off all the treasures. This is a huge benefit. You can definitely do purchasing on behalf of others. However, just when everyone looked at Li Hao and thought that Li Hao should agree. Unexpected. Sorry, I won't sell this little tripod either. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. God level tip, report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Tian Taido. Chapter 502. Sorry, I won't sell this small tripod either. As soon as Li Hao's words came out, everyone was surprised. He doesn't sell it either? Everyone's eyes widened and they looked at Li Hao in disbelief, thinking that this guy was stupid, right? Zhao Si had already offered such conditions, but he still refused to sell. In this way, not only will he not get any benefits, but he will also offend Mr. Zhao of Shenbeimen. You must know that this is Yunyanchen City, but the territory of Shenbeimen. If you offend Mr. Zhao, how can you die? Don't even know. This is simply stupid. Next to him, Lao had a look of surprise on his face when he heard Li Hao's words. Is this guy so tough? In front of him, Si Zhao's smile froze when he heard Li Hao's answer. A gleam of light suddenly burst out from his eyes, and a chill grew in his heart. No one has ever dared to reject him so directly. This is completely ignoring him, this is completely ignoring his Shenbei men. You are looking for death. What the hell, you're so shameless. I'll kill you. Dot. The guards of Zhao Si next to him also shouted angrily at this moment, their cultivation aura burst out again, and they couldn't help but attack Li Hao again. Stop. But at this moment, Zhao Si shouted directly again and stopped several of his subordinates. Zhao Si also had a flash of anger in his heart, but he held it back. A strange smile suddenly appeared on the corner of his mouth, with a cold light in the smile. Very good. It's really good. Since they won't sell it, we won't force it? I only heard Zhao Si say calmly again. Immediately, he looked at Li Hao coldly and said. However, Your Excellency, I want to give you a piece of advice. Sometimes, it is better to judge the situation. Some people are not easy to mess with, and they can easily crush an ant-like guy to death. Zhao Si's voice came out slowly and fell into everyone's ears, making everyone feel a chill. This was already an undisguised threat. Everyone knew that Zhao Si was really angry. Yes, he was in front of everyone at this moment, but he just didn't take action directly. Everyone felt that Li Hao was going to be miserable. When Li Hao heard what Zhao Si said, his expression was as usual, and his eyes also burst out with a sparkle. Oh? Really? A smile appeared on Li Hao's face, and he said lightly, Indeed, you are right. Some people are not something you can afford to offend. When you immediately think that they are ants, in fact, they may be the giant elephant can crush you to death with one kick. Li Hao returned what this guy said directly to the other party. As soon as these words came out, Zhao Si's expression suddenly became even more ugly, and he glanced at Li Hao coldly, with murderous intent bursting out of his eyes. Let's go. Zhao Si spoke directly to the guard beside him, then turned around and left without hesitation. Behind Zhao Si, the guards also looked at Li Hao coldly, and then quickly followed him. This scene, when it fell into the eyes of the surrounding monks, caused them to make mocking sounds, and many of them shook their heads at Li Hao. Oh! What a fool! What a great opportunity! I'm afraid this guy is going to be miserable. I don't know if there is something wrong with my head. Dot. Li Hao naturally didn't pay attention to the voices of these people. Li Hao directly put away the mountain and river cauldron in his hand and placed it in the system world. He then looked back to find time to remove the seal on the mountain and river cauldron. As for the poison on this guy, Li Hao naturally has a way. Not to mention that Li Hao is a master of witchcraft and poison. He is proficient in the way of witchcraft and poison, and he is also very good at poison. Moreover, Li Hao is also a master of alchemy. If you really can't, it's not a problem to refine a poison pill for this guy. Seeing Li Hao put away the small cauldron, Lao couldn't help but speak out again. That, my poison. Before Lao could say anything, Li Hao said directly. Don't worry. I have a way to deal with your poison. However, I have to buy something now and I'll help you treat it later. After Li Hao finished speaking, Li Hao was about to leave directly. When Lao saw this scene, he immediately spoke up again. Ah! No. What if you run away? Did you lie to me? What? When Li Hao heard Lao's words, he was completely speechless. You don't believe me? The corners of Li Hao's mouth twitched, and fierceness burst out in his eyes. At this moment, Lao suddenly felt an invisible force falling on him, as if the whole world was pressing on him, making him almost breathless. Lao's heart was suddenly horrified. That's right, no. Lao blurted out, but under the strong pressure, he immediately changed his words and said weakly, well, can't it be cured now? Now, are you kidding me? You need to get the materials for refining the poison pill first. I don't have the materials for the poison pill. As long as you get it, I will help you refine the poison pill later. Li Hao said directly again. Ah! Hearing Li Hao's words, Lao was completely stunned. You want to refine the poison pill? Are you an alchemist? Lao looked at Li Hao with wide eyes and said in disbelief. Is this guy in front of me an alchemist? How is this possible? Moreover, the poison transforming pill is not an ordinary pill. It is a high-grade pill comparable to the God transforming pill. I am afraid that only an alchemy master can refine it. That's right. What? Is there a problem? Li Hao said in a solemn voice again. No problem. The corners of Lao's mouth twitched and he said weakly. But, the materials for refining the goo pill are very expensive, right? I don't have that many spirit stones. This is not a problem that I have to consider. As an alchemist, when you help others make alchemy, you have to prepare your own materials. Li Hao said in a deep voice again. Immediately, Lao's face turned ugly. Well. When Li Hao saw this scene, he couldn't help but sigh again. Forget it, since you didn't give this little cauldron to that Zhao Si, I'll give you 2 injections first to suppress the poison in your body. Li Hao said directly to Lao in front of him. Huh? Really? Hearing Li Hao's words, Lao suddenly became a little excited. Sit down. Li Hao shouted directly. Immediately, this Lao sat cross-legged on the ground beside the stall. Li Hao also sat down cross-legged, facing Lao. The next moment, Li Hao put his fingers directly on Lao's arm, and there was a majestic power of consciousness probing into Lao's body. Immediately, the situation in Lao's body was immediately under Li Hao's scrutiny. In just a moment, Li Hao clearly understood Lao's physical condition, and even felt the poison in Lao's body. Blood demon goo. Li Hao's whole body also condensed, and he said the name of the poison that Lao had been poisoned by. This poison is hidden in Lao's blood, swallowing up Lao's essence, blood, and spiritual power. It has penetrated deeply into Lao's internal organs and even his limbs. This blood demon goo is a very powerful poison, and the golden silkworm goo poison is its name, and it cannot be directly refined, so it is not easy to remove. There are thousands of poisonous poisons in the world, like the 3,000 avenues, and there are many types, including malnutrition poison, stone poison, love poison, snake poison, harm poison, swollen poison, and epilepsy poison. This goo path is also profound, and it is very wonderful. It has the same purpose as the beast control path, but the beast control path is to establish a connection with the monster beast to achieve the purpose of controlling the monster beast for one's own use. And this goo is just a way to control the goo, allowing it to enter the target's body without anyone noticing, so as to achieve the purpose of controlling the opponent. Obviously, this Lao has been poisoned by the blood demon goo, and has already been poisoned in his body. A blood demon goo insect was born, and the poison was very deep. How about it? Immediately, Lao couldn't help but ask Li Hao again, with a solemn look on his face, and his heart was in his throat. The poisoning is deep. There is no hope. Wait for death. Li Hao glanced at this guy lightly and couldn't help but say. Ah! Lao was stunned, his mouth opened wide, and his whole heart suddenly fell to the bottom, and an uncontrollable emotion spread in his heart. Ha ha! You're kidding. If it were anyone else, maybe you really would have to wait for death. Although this blood demon goo is difficult to remove, it is not impossible. Li Hao laughed again and said in a deep voice, with a sense of pride in his voice. When Lao heard Li Hao's words, a black line appeared on his face again. Lao. Are you kidding? Give him a fright? This guy is really. Lao even had the urge to beat Li Hao. Before Lao could say anything, Lao saw that a jade needle appeared on the hand of the young man in front of him. The jade needle was completely snow white, with a touch of crystal and a spiritual power on it. In circulation. Li Hao directly took out the 9 Tianqian needles. First shot. The next moment, Li Hao directly activated his cultivation power, injected it into the jade needle, and then pierced it directly into Lao's head. In an instant, the spiritual power in the jade needle entered Lao's body. At this moment, in Lao's body, in the endless blood, there seemed to be countless tiny insects that were invisible to the naked eye. They seemed to be directly stimulated at this moment, and they became crazy, moving towards Lao's body crazily. Go in all directions. These bugs are blood demon goo worms. Countless blood demon goo worms are constantly devouring Lao's body strength and vitality. Ah! At this moment, a cry of pain suddenly came from Lao's body, and Lao felt heartbreaking pain. Hold it! When Li Hao saw this scene, he seemed to have expected it, and said in a deep voice. Li Hao couldn't help but was shocked. This blood demon goo was indeed extraordinary. Li Hao felt that even the spiritual power he had entered into Lao's body was being swallowed up at a rapid speed. Immediately, another jade needle appeared in Li Hao's palm. The second needle of Tianqian 9 needles. Without any hesitation, Li Hao plunged in directly. But this time, Li Hao directly stabbed Lao's arm. Then, the third needle was inserted into Lao's other arm. Then, the fourth needle was inserted into Lao's thigh. Finally, the fifth needle was inserted into Lao's other thigh. 5 jade needles were inserted into 5 parts, as if Lao's body was divided into 5 areas. The next moment, Li Hao wanted to treat the area. Direct acupuncture is not enough. This thought came to Li Hao's mind, and he made a decision immediately. Boom! The next moment, a strange power was born on Li Hao's body. Li Hao directly activated the witchcraft technique. In an emergency, several golden insects appeared in Li Hao's palm. These insects were very small. When several of them were put together, they were not even as big as a fingernail, and even difficult to see with the naked eye. And these insects were also goo insects, but they were golden silkworm goo insects. Since the trip to southern Xinjiang, after Li Hao killed the Goo King, the golden silkworm goo insect became Li Hao's thing. It was expected that Li Hao would keep it in the divine mansion. As Li Hao's cultivation level improved, it became very powerful. The divine palace is a special place opened up in the body of a cultivator in the transformation realm, which is transformed by the inner elixir of the body. The reason why Li Hao summoned the golden silkworm goo worm was to use goo to control goo. The next moment, Li Hao directly pulled the robe on Lao's body, tore off Lao's clothes, and revealed his fairly strong chest. Ah! What are you doing? Li Hao's action directly frightened Lao, and he couldn't help but say to Li Hao. This guy, why did he suddenly take off his clothes? Could it be that this guy is that or that? Nonsense, of course I'm suppressing the goo poison for you. I have no interest in your weak body at all. Li Hao was speechless. What the hell is this expression? I won't eat you. I have no interest in men, Li Hao said immediately. The next moment, Li Hao directly stretched out his finger, and a sharp sword spirit was born on the sword, and he slashed at Lao's chest. Immediately, a cut was made on Lao's chest, and blood flowed directly, but the color of the blood was a little dark red, which seemed abnormal. Ah! Lao screamed again, but he finally held it back. After doing all this, Li Hao flicked his fingers with his other hand, and the golden silkworm goo in his hand fell on the wound that had just been cut on Lao's chest. Then, these golden silkworm goo directly drilled into Lao's body and blood. The golden silkworm goo had received Li Hao's order to destroy the blood demon goo. When it encountered the blood demon goo at this moment, it was like seeing prey, and it directly launched an attack and devoured it. Although the blood demon goo was powerful, it was still defeated under the powerful attack of the golden silkworm goo that Li Hao had nurtured for so long. God level tip: report the walking 500,000 at the beginning. Author, Tian Tian Taido. Chapter 503. Although Li Hao's golden silkworm goo worms are not many, they are very powerful. As the blood demon goo worms continued to be devoured, the number of golden silkworm goo worms also became more and more. Although it was impossible to kill all these blood demon goo insects in a short time, it was able to suppress the blood demon goo insects in Lao's body. Use voodoo to make voodoo. Under Li Hao's control, Li Hao's golden silkworm goo suppressed the blood demon goo in Lao's body. In addition, Li Hao's Tianqian 9 needles were inserted into 5 parts of Lao's body. Forming a formation-like existence, these blood demon goo insects wanted to flee in all directions, but were directly blocked. Suddenly, a sound of blood spurting came from Lao's mouth again. Even though Lao spurted out a large mouthful of blood, the blood showed a black color, and there were some tiny goo worms squirming faintly. This was the blood demon goo worm in Lao's heart, and it was forced out directly at this moment. However, there are still a lot of blood demon goo insects in Lao's body, and it is difficult to kill them in a short time. When Li Hao saw this scene, he put away the jade needle on Lao's body. "How do you feel now?" A smile appeared on Li Hao's face and he asked Lao. When Lao heard Li Hao's words, he immediately took a closer look at his physical condition. The next moment, Lao's whole body was shocked. "What is this? I seem to be feeling much better." Lao felt that there was a strange power in his body that suppressed the original blood demon poison. His whole body became much more comfortable and less painful. Lao was suddenly excited. At this moment, Lao's complexion became a lot more rosy. Golden silkworm goo. The blood demon goo can temporarily suppress your body. If you want to eradicate it, you still need to cooperate with the goo transforming pill. Li Hao said to Lao again in a deep voice. "Ah! Golden silkworm goo." When Lao heard Li Hao's words, he immediately opened his mouth. The other party actually planted another golden silkworm goo in his body. In other words, besides the blood demon goo, he now had another kind of poison. Haha, don't worry. Use poison to fight poison, and poison to fight poison. It's not a big problem. You can live if you trust me. Li Hao saw what Lao was thinking. He was frightened by his golden silkworm goo, and he immediately said with a smile. Only then did Lao feel relieved. "Since you have nothing to do here, I'll leave first. I have other things to do." Li Hao said calmly to Lao again, and was about to leave. However, Li Hao did not forget the main purpose of coming here. "Wait a moment." But when Lao saw that Li Hao was about to leave, he immediately called out to Li Hao. "Anything else?" Li Hao couldn't help but look at Lao and frowned. "Well, I'm with you." As he said that, Lao directly collected the things on the stall and put them all into his storage bag. He didn't even set up the stall, and came directly to Li Hao's side, looking like he was following Li Hao. Determine Li Hao's appearance. Li Hao was speechless. This guy was obviously worried about him, fearing that he would take his small cauldron without helping him get rid of the blood demon goo. Li Hao didn't care and just left here. Lao also followed behind Li Hao. By the way, my name is Lao, and I'm a casual cultivator. What's your name? This Lao was following Li Hao, and suddenly he remembered that no one had introduced him yet, so he pretended to be talking to Li Hao. Li Hao. Li Hao said lightly. Li Hao. Li Hao, this name is so familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere. Hearing Li Hao's name, Lao made another voice of surprise. The next moment, Lao's spirit suddenly shook and he said in surprise. I remember. Dawa's new Grandmaster? The one who defeated Xia Kunlun a few days ago? No way, you are. This Lao is also very well informed, and he even knows that a major event happened not long ago. The older generation Grandmaster Kunlun God of War Xia Kunlun King returned after disappearing for many years, but he was killed by Dawa's new Grandmaster Li Hao. After repelling, he suddenly remembered the name and looked at Li Hao next to him in surprise. What do you think? Li Hao looked at Lao's appearance and said with a half smile. Li Hao did not deny it, but when Lao heard Li Hao's words, his heart was filled with turmoil. It turns out that he is Li Hao. No wonder he was able to suppress the blood demon goo in his body. Thinking of this, Lao really believed that Li Hao could remove the poison from his body. Li Hao ignored Lao and continued walking around the streets of this ancient city. After a while, following the location mentioned by Tang Wanchen and the others, Li Hao finally arrived at the shop that was said to sell talisman paper. All I saw was an old shop at the innermost corner of the street. Yes, it was a shop, not a stall. I don't know how long this shop has existed in this ancient city. From this shop, I can feel that this shop must be very old. Seeing this shop, Li Hao's eyes couldn't help but condense again. In this ancient city, there are actually shops. Could this shop also belong to Shenbao men? Just go in and take a look and you will know. Li Hao was confused and walked directly into the shop without any hesitation. As soon as he entered the door, Li Hao saw the display of this store, which was messy and did not look like a place to sell things. On the rows of shelves, there were some carved wood carvings, which were basically in the shape of some monsters, and they were carved to be lifelike. But the moment Li Hao saw these wood carvings, his heart was shocked again. There was a touch of spirituality on these wood carvings. The moment he looked at them, there was a faint pressure from those wood carvings. These monster wood carvings seemed to come alive and turned into invisible beasts, opening their bloody mouths and biting towards Li Hao. Li Hao's expression was shocked, and a gleam of brilliance suddenly burst out of his eyes, as if a thunderbolt was born in the invisible. The next moment, the phantoms of these beasts disappeared directly, and everything seemed to be a false illusion, as if nothing had happened. Li Hao still stood there, with a slight wave in his heart. These wood carvings were like magic weapons. There was a will on them, and there was a pressure release. Behind Li Hao, Lao was also extremely shocked at this moment, and cold sweat was flowing down his forehead. How terrifying! Damn, this shop is so scary. Fortunately, Li Hao stood in front of him. At this time, Li Hao slowly looked to the front again. There was a table at the back of the shop, and behind the table sat an old man in a grey robe. The old man was wearing glasses and gloves on both hands. He held a carving knife in one hand and a piece of dark black wood in the other hand. The old man looked to be in his 60s or 70s. He lowered his head and was carving seriously, as if immersed in his world. Even when Li Hao and the others walked in, he did not stop the carving knife in his hand. As the old man's carving knife kept falling, the wood in his hand slowly changed its appearance. Li Hao and the others saw the appearance of the wood carving in his hand. It looked like a tiger with wings. Is that a flying devil tiger? At this moment, looking at the monster carved by the old man, Lao, who was standing next to Li Hao, couldn't help but said in a deep voice, recognizing the monster carved by the old man, which was a flying devil tiger. Li Hao didn't say anything, but just watched the old man carving. The old man's carving skills had reached the level of perfection, and every trace and every carving was so smooth. Li Hao didn't see any fluctuations in his cultivation from the old man, but Li Hao still felt an invisible oppression. The old man in front of him was definitely not an ordinary person. And Li Hao found that the patterns carved by the old man on the wood carving were actually runes connected together, just like carving a formation on this wood carving. Li Hao's mind was shocked again. The old man in front of him was very unusual. Not only could he not see through his cultivation, but he was also a powerful formation master. Li Hao was also a formation master. He could see at a glance the exquisite formation engraved by the old man. The rune was also very special. Li Hao was fascinated by the old man's carving. The two of them just watched the old man carving quietly, concentrating. The two of them were concentrating, and their eyes seemed to be an endless abyss, swallowing their mental power. In their eyes, the whole world seemed to have changed. In their eyes, there was only the movement of the other's carving knife, and they sank. As time passed, the minds of the two were rapidly consumed. Li Hao was better, but Liao's eyes were red, and the sweat on his face was all left. Only more than 10 minutes passed. Ah! Liao suddenly woke up, his spirit collapsed at this moment, and he finally couldn't bear it anymore. He collapsed to the ground, as if he had been drained of energy. At this moment, Liao's eyes were filled with extreme horror. He seemed to have walked through the gates of hell. This was too scary. The opponent seemed to have a magic power that made his spiritual power trapped in it, unable to extricate himself. If the opponent didn't have no intention of killing him, he would have died at this moment. Turning his head, Liao saw that Li Hao next to him was immersed in the opponent's carving, not moving at all. At this moment, Li Hao seemed to be trapped in the other person's world. The only thing he could see was the trajectory of the carving knife in the other person's hand. The rune was really strange. Li Hao remembered every stroke deeply in his heart. Moreover, the rune engraved by the other person seemed to have a magical power, which caused the demon god in Li Hao's body to move involuntarily. At this moment, the old man also discovered this scene, and he was surprised that someone could withstand his mental power. When he was carving, his mental power was also released. He had been here for many years, carving for many years, and no one had ever been able to persist for so long under his mental power. Moreover, the rune he carved was a strange rune he got from an underground ruin many years ago. He had been spying on the mystery of this rune for so many years. This rune seemed to be a rune of the demon race. Only when he carved the statue of the demon beast could it show some strange power. The old man's heart was filled with a strange color, but the movement of his hands did not stop, but became faster and faster. He wanted to see how long the other party could hold out. So, another 10 minutes passed. The old man's carving has come to an end, and it has reached a very critical point, and it is about to be completed. A lifelike flying devil tiger wood sculpture appeared in front of Li Hao, but this flying devil tiger statue still lacks some spirituality. After doing all this, the old man's forehead is covered with sweat. Obviously, the whole carving process is not simple, and his mental consumption is also very large. Next, it is the most critical moment. Living beings, let this wood sculpture have spirituality, let his will fall on it, and thus become a magic weapon. The next moment, an invisible force emerged from the old man's body. I only saw the old man concentrate his mind and point at the head of the wood sculpture. But just when the old man's finger just landed on the wood sculpture, a sudden change occurred. In front, there were powerful demonic auras coming from the front. These demonic auras actually erupted from the originally carved monster statues. At this moment, the statues seemed to come alive, turning into ferocious monsters, condensing into huge phantoms, revealing a monstrous demonic power, as if welcoming their gods. Bang! Puff! At this moment, The old man immediately spurted out a stream of blood. His eyes were filled with horror, watching this scene. How could this happen? How could this happen? The old man said in a lost voice. At this critical moment, he was actually backfired, and even the flying demon tiger statue in his hand was directly exploded. It seemed that he had reached the last step, but he failed at the last moment. This was something the old man had not expected. Wasn't it fine? How could this happen? Why did his already carved statue suddenly move? The old man's face became a little ugly, and his eyes fell on Li Hao and the other person. To be precise, it was Li Hao. Faintly, he actually felt a demonic aura from this guy. How could a demonic aura appear on a human cultivator? And the guy in front of him seemed to have not been affected by his carving from beginning to end. Could it be that this guy was behind it? Is it you? The old man looked at Li Hao and said sternly, his eyes were cold and murderous.